talking about SNL, the history, the mysteries, and all the hot impressions in between, breaking down all the numbers as well. In your favorite sketches with special guests, it's on the Saturday Night Network.
Yes, Happy New Year. Welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for our first show of 2025, here to talk about the final 3 episodes of December, wrap up the first half of the season, and talk to everybody about what they are looking forward to this coming year. And I'm so excited to be back on the podcast with my man, who is no longer a single man. He is a married man. Andrew Haynes is here. Haynes, how are you?
What's up? I'm doing very well. Yes, like you said, had a very busy fall. I don't think I've been on since October. I had to miss a by the numbers in November, and couldn't come on in December because we just had so much going on. Got married like a few days before Thanksgiving, and then was on honeymoon for like 16 days in December. So we did 3 nights in Paris, then went down and did a little European river cruise from Basel, Switzerland, up through the German Christmas markets. Spent some time in Amsterdam and a few days in London. So we really did it up. Spent all our money there. Didn't do anything for New Year's except sit around the house and try and get the place back in order since we've been away for so long. So very busy, but starting to get my life piece back. And yep, got my hardware. I don't wear watches or chains or anything, so I'm getting used to the jewelry. But yeah, doing well.
Championship ring you got right over there.
That's right.
Yes, I will have one soon later this year. So,
I know,
but no, I'm very excited for you. We all wish you a big congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so excited to get to celebrate that and talk to you about your thoughts on the show since it's been a couple of months. Joining us as well to kick off the show tonight is one of our amazing patrons who we got cut off last time, so I knew we had to start the show with you. That's Will Norman is here. Will, how are you?
Doing great, John. Trying to do this one without any technical difficulties. I'm just kidding. But I'm really excited to be with you guys here to start the new year. Happy New Year to everybody, and congrats to you, Haynes. I also got married in 2024, so it was a great year
nice.
for love.
Congratulations.
2025 will be a great one too for you, John. So happy to start the year with this going to the last part of SNL talk with all you guys and all the great patrons out here. Like, as I am one of them, excited to be here today. So thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. So great to get to have you. So Haynes, let me start with you. I would love to know, we're now 10 episodes into season 50. 2025 is potentially the biggest year in SNL history, not to put too much on it, but a lot of big things coming up for the show. So let's do a quick State of the Union, as we like to do at the start of every calendar year. How are you feeling about Saturday Night Live right now?
I think Saturday Night Live is in a pretty good place. Obviously, as would be expected with season 50, the hosts have been, I think they would normally be a notch up from any season, but in particular, we had kind of an interesting season last year with some of the hosting schedule. So obviously, we're in a good place there. Everyone's getting really excited, I think, leading up to February for this 50th anniversary special. Obviously, we're coming off what is often the biggest, it feels like sometimes the biggest episode of the year, bigger than, the opener or the finale sometimes. And this one was really special. So I think we're in a great place. I mean, I don't know that SNL could be in a better place than it is right now.
All right. Well, that will be discussed a lot tonight, as we got a ton of questions about the state of the show right now and what people think. So, Will, I'm so curious to get your full thoughts on the season so far and how you're feeling about the show right now.
I'd echo a lot of what Haynes just said. I feel good about where the show is at right now. I really enjoyed the array of hosts. It's been really nice to have, obviously having Dana Carvey in there for the first half of the show, to give a nod to an alum and really give him a time to shine. Obviously with Andy as well and Maya. I know we wish we could see more of her, but it's been really a great mix of having a lot of veterans and ode to the past, but also incorporating the new people. It's been really nice. A lot of times, sometimes for some cast members, January is a time where some of them start to kind of get let loose. It's been nice to see them grow and get more incorporated, the new people into the cast as we've gone on. And I think the episodes have been very solid. I think there's been very few episodes that, it's hard to meet the moment in terms of the excitement everyone has around the show, but I feel like it's been really solid with the writing, the hosting, the cast members, the chemistry has all been really good. And I feel good going into 2025 as we get ready to start up shows in here pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but my litmus test for how the show is doing is often occurs over the holidays, because I've often mentioned on here that I, had a big group of friends. We all loved watching SNL, watching it together, talking about the sketches, and then slowly, as I got older, as this tends to happen, people like die off the show. So they're just like, yeah, I can't, like, it's not my thing anymore. They just, they maybe see a sketch here and there. But on the holidays, typically, like, I'll end up seeing friends who will come back into town and talk to them about, what I'm up to in SNL. And then I'll get an idea of like, okay, is anything like broken through the super fan barrier into the casual sphere? And I was very pleasantly surprised to see how many casual people I know were talking to me about their excitement about SNL lately. Because for us, like, we're living and dying with the show every week of like, oh, this was a good episode, this was a bad episode. But for them, they're like, oh my God, did you see Domingo? Or like, did you see Walking His Dream? Like, these things are so great. And like, they don't know, right? Like, they don't know like what's happening with these rookies or anything like that. Like, we're so deep in it that I love getting the casual perspective. And I do believe, in fact, it seems like a lot of people are really enjoying what they're getting from season 50. And I feel like, Haynes, the vibes are pretty good right now. So I feel like we have a lot to talk about and celebrate in 2025. Do you agree?
Absolutely agree. And yeah, so I do think the vibes are good. And, it may just be that because it's season 50 and that's being, well advertised, maybe those kind of more casual SNL fans are just, seeing this as an opportunity to tune in for something special, and kind of having that magic, reawakened, maybe if they used to watch in the past, but don't watch so much now. And obviously, of course, SNL is always a show where, we've got hardcore fans who watch every week, and then folks who tune in just for their big celebrity that's hosting. Maybe they see an episode once a year, or or every couple of years. And so, like we said, we've got some great hosts. Obviously, a special magical year. So lots of great vibes. Agree 100.
So let me set the table for the show here tonight. So last we were with you for a feedback show. We were right after Thanksgiving, and we were talking about those November shows and what happened with SNL and the election. Since then, we had 3 December shows. So we had Paul Mescal promoting Gladiator 2, who was somebody who in the SNL world we didn't know much about. He comes out, does a pretty good job. Chris Rock will come and host next and bring along Adam Sandler, and that was a big deal. A lot of people were talking about that. And then Chris hosting for the 4th time. And is he a good host? And how did that work? Marty Short hosts for his 5th time, a huge celebration for the show. He brings out all of these former 5-timers, and it's a real party atmosphere and all-star episode that we get for this Christmas show, the final show of 2024. Heading into the new year, we are expecting 2 more episodes to come out on January 18th and 25th. Those will be the only 2 episodes before the 50th anniversary celebration happening on February 16th. So there's going to be no new episodes, a regular SNL in February. So a lot of gaps in the schedule over the next couple of months, but a huge celebration, a bunch of documentaries that will be coming out over the next few months. So there's a lot of things happening in the SNL world right now, Will, and I would love to know from you, is there anything that you want to talk about in particular, or any questions you had for us that we can start off our conversation with here tonight?
I guess I wanted to talking a little bit about what's coming up for the second half of the year. If there's any, I guess what you guys are feeling about the vibes in terms of I guess it's kind of early to talk about turnover, but like as we go into the second half of the show, if we are expecting any changes, any additions. Sometimes there's always a half season addition. I don't think that's going to happen this time, but if there's any changes in the cast or anything that you're anticipating for big hosts or big gets for the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would be really surprised if they added a new cast member before SNL 50. I just think that having that person come on right before this moment would be really hard for them, because just I don't think they would it would be fair. Like there's just too much going on. I think that if they were to bring on an additional person, I would assume it would be like the first show in March, because at least then you sort of have the excitement of, okay, we're coming off this huge high of the celebratory episode, and maybe now we're going to get something else for people to talk about. So if they were going to add a new cast member, I think it would be done there. I also can't imagine anybody leaving now, but Haynes, do you have a different opinion on that?
Well, I mean, I think that when people do leave in the season, it's usually after the holiday episode. So I think we're safe right now. As far as, departures at the end of the year, I mean, I could see some folks leaving. There's some folks who have been on the show for a very long time, and maybe we'll talk more about that later. I'm guessing that I think things are going to stay pretty quiet, at least through the end of the year. As you were saying, introducing a cast member before SNL 50 at this point would be kind of wild, because introducing a new cast member, even though they get very little screen time at first, it's still kind of a big deal. It's still a thing every time new folks join the show, and of course, we've got the biggest thing in SNL history, maybe, happening in February, and we know Lauren hates a hat on a hat. So I don't think we do two of those things right beside each other.
Also, like, who's the last person that they added mid-season? Kate, right?
Gotta be.
I think they were going to add Lauren Holt at the end of season 45, but then it got cut short because of COVID. But I just think it's like that again probably was to protect himself for the people who are leaving. So I would have to imagine if they're going to do that, it's because there's going to be a bunch of departures at the end of 50, and it would probably be closer to that. But Will, what would you like to see?
What I like to see, I think there's a few. I mean, I think it's mostly I'm looking at the hosting gigs. I think I'm looking at hosting gigs as kind of what I'm looking forward to the most. I'd like to see some more alums come back in 2025. I'm really, like I said, don't want to get too far ahead, but looking for like the last part of the season, like in May especially, who Lauren taps as being those alums that come back to celebrate 50. It feels like we've been kind of warming up to Dana Carvey potentially hosting. I think that'd be awesome if you were able to come back. But also just seeing who's going to be in the mix and kind of what the direction the show goes in. Now that some expected timelines for the election would have turned out, what direction does the show go in now that Trump will be back in office? And then also, how do you kind of celebrate 50 while also continuing and figuring out what's next in 51 so that we keep momentum going into next year? So those are kind of things I'm looking at and hoping for, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts too on what you're looking forward to or what you're focused on right now going into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm so curious about what these 2 January episodes are going to look like. It almost feels a little bit calm before the storm, where we had this huge momentous episode at the end of December, and then we still have to get through these 2 episodes before we get to SNL 50. So that's top of mind right now as to like, will there be any alumni making cameos? Because will it be as meaningful to see them in January as it will be to see them on February 16th? Haynes, what about you?
So that's a pretty good point. Although I feel like the 50th celebration is going to be such a massive blowout. I do think we're going to continue to see some special cameos kind of leading up to that point. I think they're going to treat it like a really great act coming out on stage that needs 2 really great warm-up acts. So I hope that those episodes, I mean, obviously we had something really big with the holiday episode, so maybe there's got to be a little bit of a dip down, but with that first episode in January. But I would think that we'd still have some. I mean, Lord knows we've had so many cameos this year. Like that's going to continue, and I think from that first January episode, it'll ramp up to the next one, and kind of we'll build a ramp kind of up to that 50th celebration for a unbelievable blowout that I can't wait for.
Yes, and just, to remind everybody about what happened before SNL 40, which is our closest precedent to this, since, SNL 15 and 25 were more clip shows, even though they were anniversary shows. They both took place at the beginning of seasons. SNL 40 took place around the exact same time, 10 years ago. And prior to that, there were 3 episodes, and those were Kevin Hart, who had hosted, I believe that was probably his second time hosting. So he hosted once before. Blake Shelton did double duty, and J.K. Simmons was hosting. So it wasn't like a very big deal. And I just wonder if they copy that formula this time and they just pick a couple of people with movies out, or if they do what Haynes is saying and sort of, lead us again into the 50th. So that'll be really interesting, and we'll for sure talk about that more tonight and answer some more questions. Will, anything else you got for us?
No, that's it for me. I just want to say thank you, Jon and Haynes, obviously being here and all the great content you guys have been producing. I mean, obviously for years, Jon, but it's been really fun to be able to tune in and be a part of the community this year and watch SNL be celebrated amongst friends. It's really great to be part of this community. So thanks for providing the space for all of us.
Thank you so much. We're so lucky to get to have people like you part of it and calling in and getting to talk to you. So happy New Year, Will. Great to have you on the show tonight and everything worked. So
you did it.
Sound great.
Did it.
You look great. We're happy to have you.
Awesome to see you again, Will. Awesome to see you
too.
again.
You guys take care.
See ya.
Yeah, thanks, Will. All right, we got another patron coming in just a moment. Haynes, just want to answer a couple things from the chat. So we'll do our little Fox and Friends correction corner. So Leslie, as Scott says, was the last one. I guess who got added partway through a season. So that was a couple episodes into season 40. Also, Sashir got added partway into season 39 as well. So thank you for that. Been a while since I'm just doing some work on everything you need to know around that time. So it's good to catch up. And Adam asked a question. Adam said, why do I find my opinion varies so much to you guys? Well, Adam, the answer to that question, and thank you for asking that in the chat, is that that's the great thing about SNL podcasting after doing this for so many years, is we get to learn that our opinions are not always the right ones. We just have them and we talk about them. And that's
whoa. And our patrons don't always have the right opinions.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Adam, anyone can be wrong. Any day you can be wrong.
For sure. Yeah, I mean that's a great thing. It's like, look, sometimes I'll do a podcast. I did a hot take show a few weeks ago, the Chris Rock hot take show. I got a ton of comments on the YouTube chat saying Jon doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, I mean, it's totally this stuff happens all the time. I do not claim to know everything there is to know about Saturday Night Live, or that my opinion is always right. But I do love I love getting to foster this community and get to hear from all different types of people who get to talk about the show. So the fact that you're listening, even though you disagree with the opinion, makes you a great fan of the show. So
we love the discourse, and it would be so boring if we all just 100% agreed with each other all the time. It would be the worst.
And I don't think that the people at SNL want everyone to totally agree all the time. Like, criticizing sketches or talking about who's doing well or not doing well in the show is like the part of the makeup of the show. So that's what we're here to do tonight. So we'll keep talking about all of that. Very excited to bring in our next patron that we have here, I believe, coming to us for the first time on the show. So let's bring in Jared Klein is here. Jared, how are you?
Hey, Jon. Hey, Haynes. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you great. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Awesome. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and none of them do this type of feedback show. So I really do appreciate the opportunity to discuss SNL with you guys. And yep, it is indeed my first time on this feedback show.
Well, you're going to do great. And this is, why we love getting to meet all these new people, is because, there's fans all over the world who love the show. And so tell us where are you calling us from?
I live in South Florida, the Miami area.
Okay. Very cool. How's the weather down there? It's very cold up here in Canada, so it must be very different.
It's a little chilly down here. By Florida, chilly is like 60. So
right.
I know I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, and that place is buried in snow right now. So yeah, but it is nice. Palm trees make me happy. So,
I can totally relate. So Jared, how do you become a fan of Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, so with Saturday Night Live, I remember the first compilation I ever saw in the 90s was a commercial compilation, and just laughing my butt off at stuff like Colon Blow, I think was my first SNL memory that I have. And I mean, you couldn't really be a kid in the 90s and not be a fan of Chris Farley. So I continued to watch the show, but not as closely as you guys. I've only started doing that more recently, learning more about the history, reading live from New York book, and then listening to your guys' podcast. And I really enjoy your analysis and getting to see all these different discussions about the show.
Well, thank you so much. How are you feeling about season 50?
I'm really enjoying it so far. I think the show's in a good place with the cast that they have right now. They have a lot of great hitters. I don't think there's like a complete like knockout hitter like a Will Ferrell or a Bill Hader or a Kristen Wiig, but you have a lot of people that are on the upward trajectory into the stratosphere. As far as the hosts go so far, I feel like overall it's been good. I feel like Jean Smart should be given another shot, maybe like co-hosting with Hannah Einbender or something. Maybe could come in and host when she was feeling well. I know there was that issue with that show, but I've really enjoyed the hosts they have so far. My favorites have been Ariana Grande and Bill Burr.
Okay, some good choices. I love the takes there. Interesting point that you made, and that was a big discussion that I was having with some of, again, I'll call them my casual friends over the holidays, which was like, again, who is SNL star right now? Is there a star on the show? And that's something that we've been talking about all season long, about how the last few seasons, it sort of felt like Mikey Day, Heidi Gardner, Kenan Thompson, like all of them were trying to fight for that top spot. But Bowen Yang has really made that push forward, this season from a show's perspective. Whether all of his sketches hit for you is a different story, but it seems like the show is really trying to push Bowen into that spot where they had a Kristen and a Will and all of those people over the last few eras. Haynes, since I haven't gotten to get your thoughts on Bowen this season, how are you feeling about him and his place?
Well, listen, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I knew from Bowen's first season that he would be a star. Like, he just had something from the get-go. Obviously, the iceberg bit on Weekend Update was just, it was the first time you saw that, it was unbelievable. And then as I saw him in more and more sketches, he just seemed to own every sketch. It does not surprise me that we're seeing this from Bowen right now. But I will tell you, if there's another person who's going to chase Bowen's star, and I think they're coming for it quickly, it's going to be Marcelo. Marcelo is coming for Bowen. People love Marcelo, and he is getting more and more work. And I think he's going to be maybe the next star on this show.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, Jared, we start to think about when we're analyzing the show about, who is the star to the fans? Like, do the fans make the star, or does the show make the star? Like, is it incumbent on us as a community or people who watch the show to tell the show, hey, this person is so good and they're hitting so hard that they should be the star of the show? Or is the show being like, we're going to just push this person into the spotlight? And that's been a big question mark with Bowen, who seems to be more polarizing in terms of the sketches he produces, whereas somebody like Marcelo seems to be more hit than miss. And it is possible, like Haynes said, that the fans ultimately push Marcelo into that spot that the show is trying to have Bowen in right now. How do you feel about it?
I really do like Bowen's sketches overall. I think he is really funny. I feel like he doesn't have, say, like the same range as like a Will Ferrell or a Bill Hader. Like, not to say, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Things like the iceberg, he does have some versatility. I feel like, though, it's more so when the show needs a gay character. I mean, they'll bring him in for the most part. I just feel like a lot of his characters are somewhat of a reflection of that, and maybe he has a little bit of lesser range. As far as Marcelo goes, he's a great guy. I actually got to meet him twice this year because he's from the South Florida area. He's a really nice dude, without a doubt. And I love seeing his upward trajectory so far, playing the crazy, ballistic person, like the couple you can't believe are together, the host of Sabado Gigante, and then just playing the really stolid, mom whose son's an athlete who just got famous. And he's definitely, I think he could get there. Definitely. Yeah. He wasn't the first person I thought of, but yeah, I could definitely see that.
Here's something I'll add to why I feel this way about Marcelo. Obviously there's always been ratings. So that's the way that we used to judge the success of the show. But we have a much richer way of judging the audience experience now in the age of social media. There's just so much feedback from the general public. And I think SNL's always been a show that, like a good live performer, like a live band or a comedian, feeds off the crowd and gives back to the folks when they're picking up that energy. So now in this age where everyone has a voice and SNL can hear everything that everyone is saying, people love Marcelo, and I think they're going to feed us to him.
You know, that's interesting that you said that, because I was thinking about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks, which is that how does the show determine what is working on the show or not? And, you know, if they did used to look at ratings for television episodes, like look at the Nielsen ratings, it'd be like, okay, this show did really well. What does that mean? How does it affect what we do on the show? That's not really as applicable anymore. So you would think naturally they would look at which sketches are popping off and going viral. And those sketches could probably go viral because they're either really good or really funny, or maybe they hit something in pop culture that really works. Or another factor probably is that, you know, cast members now have their own personal social medias and following, and people want to watch their sketches because they know them from off the show as well. Bowen definitely has a off SNL personality, so you would naturally think that people would be in tune with what he was doing. And Marcelo came in with a huge following, and when he was hired in season 48, we talked about him being maybe like the first TikTok star to come onto the show. And a couple of years ago, I didn't know necessarily the value and how it applied to Saturday Night Live, but I believe now, because he has so many followers, people are naturally going to watch his stuff, and it will end up boosting his sketches in the algorithm to the point where they may end up going viral. And then in turn, the show feels like he's doing great on the show. So it's just something to think about as another aspect of, like, when they hire cast members or when they make decisions, are they going to start thinking about who has a big following already coming into the show?
Do you think that's why? Do you think it was because of Marcelo playing Domingo that sketch went viral, or the concept of poorly singing at a friend's wedding, or both?
You know, that's a tough one, right? Because it didn't work with me that night, and I'm always going to be honest about, like, you know, I was live, I was raw on the Hot Take Show, and I said that sketch didn't hit for me the first night. But I think it had the perfect mix of Ariana Grande, just beloved at this point.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, like everyone just like stands her. Wicked coming out and people being excited to see her and see what she was going to do on the show. I think it was pretty relatable for a lot of people, and, you know, the idea of covering an extremely popular song, and then Marcelo's following and him being sort of, you know, a young generation's, you know, they have a love affair with Marcelo on the show. So I just think it checked a lot of boxes of what they were looking for from a sketch concept. It didn't exactly work for me, but the show doesn't exist. Like, people are not putting on the show in a random theater in New York that nobody gets to see. It's a show that goes out to millions and millions of people every week, online and on TV. And as a result of that, it's not produced like something you would produce for a random play. So Haynes, what do you think was the reason that went so viral?
Listen, the singing is funny, but honestly, people have a crush on Marcelo, and the idea that Marcelo's the person that, I think people are putting themselves in that sketch, like fantasizing hooking up with Marcelo. You know, I honestly, I think that's part of it. I think people are like, this guy is cute and funny and just likable and lovable, and I think that was a part of it. Can't get away from that, the Domingo references. It seems like they're just everywhere now.
But you know what's so funny, Haynes, is like, you know, if Marcelo wasn't on the show and they didn't have like a quote unquote like cute guy to be that character, like they could have easily cast like a Fred Armisen in that sketch like 10 years ago, right? And like,
well, listen, like that would have been amazing. But what I was going to say was, you know, that sketch, it wouldn't have blown up this way with Mikey Day. No offense, Mikey, but it wouldn't have blown up like this. I don't think. Yeah. People, I think the folks have a crush on Marcelo.
Yeah, there's definitely a factor. Jared, do you have any other questions or anything that you want to talk about from the show right now?
Sure. I mean, I was thinking today. So yeah, you mentioned the 2 January episodes, the big 3-hour blowout that's coming, and then I guess the rest of the season. I was thinking, like, who would you want to see host? Who would you want to see host the show? And like, some that at least came into my mind, like in the similar vein of Ariana Grande, it'd be fun to see Sabrina Carpenter or Chappell Roan host. Athlete wise, it'd be fun to see Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce did amazing. I know his brother kind of cameoed here and there on his show. It'd be fun to see Jason do that. And then actor wise, I mean, I'm still trying to think of some, but I want to hear from you guys. Who would you like to see host the show going forward this season?
Well, at least for January, I said I think I would love Kieran Culkin to be one
Okay.
of the hosts. He got shafted because of the those episodes that got canceled for the strike. And I believe he had a movie that just came out really recently with Jesse Eisenberg that got amazing
Yes.
reviews for his role in that one, where they end up going to Poland, and it's like a really touching movie that's also pretty funny. So he's getting great reviews and has been a pretty big deal for the last few years. So I feel like that's a wrong that maybe they can right in January. As far as alumni are concerned, I like I said, I think we're going to get a lot of them on the anniversary show, obviously, and then I think maybe we'll sort of sprinkle in some over the season, and then in May I think we're going to hit us with some really big ones. Haynes, what about you?
I don't think that my understanding, I think, is that there's not going to be a season 2, but gosh, Colin Farrell was awesome in The Penguin, and obviously I think he just won a Golden Globe last night. So, I mean, that to me, I think that would be a pretty good draw to have him host. I could definitely see that happening. I have to always think about these questions a little bit longer because and thinking about like celebrities, it's funny because SNL is obviously a pop culture thing, but I kind of like pride myself a little bit, like the character I exist as, like in life, is a guy who like doesn't care too much about like pop culture outside of SNL. I like give people a hard time in my life who care too much about pop culture. And so like ever since I've been on this show, I've kind of been the guy who's like, I don't know the the current pop culture. Like that's like kind of a funny thing to me. So so I really have to think about these questions. But you mentioned earlier, or maybe it was Will earlier, but someone said Hannah Einbinder, and she would be obviously amazing, and double duty with Gene Smart would be awesome. But I admit, Colin Farrell was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I had no idea he was so versatile as an actor. Has he been on the show before or no?
Yeah, I believe he hosted in 2004.
I don't remember the year, but that sounds about right. But he has hosted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, December 2004.
I'm all for those. That sounds great.
Yeah, I will say from an SNL perspective, booking Hannah as a host in January would be the perfect lead-in to SNL 50. So that would be super exciting.
Because she's Lorraine. Yeah, she's okay.
Mm-hmm. That would have been very cool. Well, Jared, thank you so much for coming on today. So nice to meet you and get to talk to you. And I hope you'll come back again soon. And thanks for all your support of the show.
Excellent. Thank you for everything you guys are doing, and let the discussions, and very soon, happy anniversary to SNL. I love it. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to chatting soon, Jared.
Very nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. All right, Haynes, how you doing?
Awesome. How you doing?
All right, let's keep going. I'm doing well. Loving this. Getting to talk to everybody at the start of the new year. I feel like seeing all my friends again. All right, so let's bring in another one. Let's bring in Ian to join us here. Ian, what is up?
Hello. How are you?
Good. Ian, congratulations. You a Detroit Lions fan?
Yes, I am. I had to represent for our amazing win. So, and
congrats.
You've been waiting your whole life for this.
Yeah, and I'm not that old, but in those 32 years that I've been alive, it has been great. So it's nice to see us finally do some good.
Yes. Wishing you luck. You guys played great last night. So happy New Year. Great to get to talk to you. It's been a little bit. So how are you feeling about SNL right now coming into the 2025?
I mean, I'm having a good time. I've been liking, I think, most episodes and sketches. So there's some that I was like, not for me, but yeah, I'm having a great time, and I'm excited to see what's coming up.
Okay. Very excited to talk to you about it as well. Ian, do you want to help us answer some questions? We haven't even opened up our mailbag yet, but we will get to some of those. And Haynes, I'll ask you your thoughts on these. So I want to take this first question that we got into the show tonight from Monette, who always sends in great questions. Says, the post-election cold opens have not featured James as Trump at all. Is this a trend you'd like to see continued after the inauguration? What are your feelings about them deciding not to do the impression? So far, we haven't seen this too much since the election, but obviously, we're going to have a big transition happening in a couple of weeks, and it'll be a big part of, the future of the show is Trump being the president. So Haynes, any thoughts on how SNL may decide to cover it?
Okay, so she asks, is this a trend you'd like to see continue after the inauguration? I think what Lauren is doing right now is giving us all a much needed break from the Trump stuff. I think the entire SNL universe has been, wanting a little bit of a break from the Trump stuff. And it's not the first time that I think we felt that way as a general audience. I think he's giving us the break while he can. I would love it if we saw a reduction, if they weren't too heavy-handed with the Trump cold opens moving forward. But I don't think it's realistic to expect that that they won't start happening again after the election. I just think that you know kind of the way Trump operates, he keeps himself heavily in the news. He will not be a quiet president. I really don't expect that. So I think he's going to be making news. He's going to be making waves, and there's no way that SNL can ignore that. We do, we use it as kind of a microscope for American culture. So if they were, I think that the thing that we can best hope for is that they're not as heavy-handed as they have been in the past. And I think there's a good chance that that'll be the case because we have such a good pulse on how beaten down people have kind of felt like have felt by it. But he's going to be making headlines, and they're going to have to address some things. So expect it to come back. And we can't forget that at the heart of this is a really great impression. I mean, it's a great impression. Even when we're not in the mood to always talk about this stuff, the impression itself is great. So that'll always be the case.
Totally. Ian, what do you think?
I personally wouldn't be upset if I didn't see it at all for the rest of the season. I hate everything that's happening, and I use comedy and entertainment as an escape from reality. So I hate being reminded of what's going on in life. So I mean, I know they're gonna do it. They've been doing politics stuff for 50 years, so they're not gonna stop now at the height of this craziness. I mean, it honestly writes itself, so they're gonna do it. But if they don't, I won't be upset at all.
Look, I think James has a legacy defining moment ahead of him right now because, I think, unfortunately for Alec Baldwin, who again is one of the greatest hosts in SNL history and a big part of SNL history, him playing Trump certainly at first was very exciting for the majority of the SNL fandom, and then him playing him all the way through Trump's first administration was something that I think in people's minds, at least what I could gather, is that people merged Trump and Baldwin together and started to associate Alec with Trump and the things that they were really upset about that Trump was doing during that first administration. I think, we have an opportunity here with James, who can separate himself from Trump and be, even though he probably has the greatest Trump impression, he has an opportunity here to do something very different, knowing that he is going to probably be playing him for the next 4 years. Because it's not like we're having someone from the outside come in and who knows when they're going to stop. We're talking about someone, still early in their SNL career who now has a moment here to have a extremely important camera facing role at the top of the show for the next few seasons. And I think that it's not just on James, but also definitely on the writers to figure out how do they take advantage of this moment by having somebody who is so good at playing the president and knowing that there's going to be a lot of crazy things that are happening. How is SNL going to cover it? And I think we have to give, them the blank slate to figure that out. But, this will be, something I think, Haynes, in, 4 or 5 years from now, when we are here for the season 54 or 55 mid-season feedback show, that we will be talking about, okay, they had these years to figure it out. Did they capitalize on the moment? Yeah. So anyways, a lot of stuff to get into when it comes to James Austin Johnson. Okay, let's take this next question from Victor, who I saw here in the chat tonight. So we talked a little bit before. We got a great question from Ajax that we did answer already. It said, do you think we'll see any early cast departures before the season finale, or will everyone stay all the way through? So we did cover that at the top of the show. So thanks, Ajax, for sending that one in. Let's take this next question, though, from Victor, who said, it's been said in the past that many older cast members will leave after 50, but do you think it will actually happen? Love the podcast and continue to produce more great work. Thanks, Victor. All right, so let's talk about some of the veterans. We're now at the point where I think, turning to the page of, the second half of the season, about who may actually decide to leave at the end of this season, knowing that they may have stuck it out through 50 or just their time has come. So, Ian, I'll start with you on this one. Any predictions about whose time may be coming to an end as we head to the second half of the season?
It's such a weird thing to think and talk about, for me at least, because I don't really want to see anyone go. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them did. Like Keenan, Mikey, Heidi, some of the people who have been there for a while. But at the same time, I feel like it's at a good spot and they're doing so well that they wouldn't want to leave. Now, I'm starting to get more things, or my voice heard a little bit more or something, maybe. I don't know. It just seems like it's more they're all having a good time. So I don't see why anyone would want to leave.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting take. The question will be is it worth it for them to stick around when there's so many eyeballs on the show this season versus next season where, who knows what 51 will look like, but I guess the excitement surrounding the show will certainly diminish a bit. How do you feel, Haynes, that some of these cast members should think about, what they might do after this season?
Listen, we could definitely see folks like, Heidi, Mikey, obviously Jost and Che, just folks who have been around for a really long time, just ready to kind of scoot out the door. I don't know that it's about season 50 for those folks as much as it is just about that. I mean, they've been on for a really long time. It could have happened last year. It could happen this year. I guess it feels like a nice round number. And so maybe that's, it feels like a natural transition point. But I think folks are, there's definitely some folks that I think are ready to get out of there. It feels to me like Keenan might do it forever. I don't know if Keenan will ever leave. But definitely I feel like when I think about Mikey, Heidi, obviously, and Che and Jost, just with the the rumors you've heard, particularly about Che and Jost in the past, and rumors are just rumors. And Che actually said during a stand-up set, maybe at the Cellar or something, that he was going to leave, and it freaked a bunch of people out. And then he had to tell them that he was kidding, and maybe he was, and maybe he wasn't. When
was that you're referring to?
I think that was, if it wasn't earlier, I'm going to say a year ago, maybe something. It's been a little while. Yeah, it's been a little while. It wasn't last week or anything.
Okay, because I do know that I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, he was again doing a stand-up set somewhere in New York and told the crowd that this was his last season.
Oh, okay. So, okay. I just said, well, it wasn't last week. So, okay. Apparently, maybe it was again last week. But I was talking about something like, 6 to 12 months ago. So there you go. It's stuff that people are talking about. So we'll see. And obviously, I think a lot of folks are ready for someone fresh at the Weekend Update desk. Although, I think we'll forever cherish these joke swaps. I think the joke swaps are one of the best things to ever happen to Weekend Update. This last one might have even been the best. It was so good, so good. Having ScarJo in there to witness the carnage, and it was carnage. It was just amazing. But yeah, those are the four off the top of my head that feel very, very likely. Maybe not likely, but the most likely.
Yeah, Ian, any comments on that?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even think about those two. I love them, so I wouldn't be mad if they stayed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they left. And if they left, I'm assuming they'd both go, or if one left, they'd both go. With that, I know my opinion on who I would like to see is a lot of other people's is Longfellow. I would like to see him up at the desk if we're talking anybody in the current cast to replace them. And I actually would be curious to see another just standalone anchor for a bit again, because it's been years since we've had that. You know, it's like, do you think they would do a duo, or do you think, like, if Jost and Che left, do you think they would bring another duo in right away, or do you think they would do a standalone?
I think that everything options on the table. Like, I think if Lauren was here right now on the call with us, he would tell us that he doesn't even know yet, you know, because he just would want to see the candidates audition. And if somebody has really good chemistry with somebody else, then maybe they do it together. I think when Amy Poehler left, you know, they didn't think that Seth was going to do it on his own. And then he just naturally fit into that position. So I think, you know, if it's going to be Longfellow, it'll be because he proves that he can. But I just don't know that the show knows whether it would be a solo or a duo.
Yeah, I don't even know if he wants to, but it would be great.
I think with the solo, you have to have someone who is a real star in that position at the Weekend Update desk. You know, I think we've had this. You know, we've really gotten into the pairs for a very long time. It's like a generation of pairs, and that's just. I mean, that just works for conversation. You know, I think things are just a lot easier when there's someone to bounce things off of and someone beside you to give that little bit of a half laugh. You know, when the audience only partially comes through on the laugh, it lightens the mood, and you can. It's a softer space, I think, with two people. It's a harsh, you know, space out there alone under the spotlight by yourself. It does take someone like Norm Macdonald or Dennis Miller to just absolutely slay that position. I don't think that they would be scared to do something like that again, but I think we've learned as an audience and SNL as an institution that it's a little bit easier to play that with two people. So I think that it kind of seems like the way that they might want to lean. But I'm with you, Ian. I think it would be awesome to have one person out there dead to camera, just crushing it. Now you're gonna have to have great jokes. You got to have really great jokes when it's just one person and there's nothing to soften things up. But I would love that. I think it would be really fun.
Yeah, and look, I think if Longfellow doesn't get the opportunity to be a Weekend Update anchor, it would be really weird to me because, you know, I'm not saying that they always prospect people, but he just fits the mold of like stand up. And like typically when people have done it solo, they've been stand ups, has like a really dry wit. And I think that's like what they've gone for in the past. And the fact that they just truly don't use him on the rest of the show. Like, at least if he was in a bunch of other stuff, I would be like, okay, I can understand them wanting to keep him. But if they don't seem to like make an effort on a regular basis to get him onto the show, so it sort of feels like he's just waiting in the wings right now to see what's going to happen. And that's what happened with a ton of anchors in the past. So I feel like he hits a lot of the characteristics of what they would look for. Ian, anything else you got for us?
No, I don't think so. I did
Cool.
just want to say, well, because I don't know. Do we know, or do you know? I know you're not allowed to say if you do, but like who's coming up, like at all? Or
I don't know yet.
Hush hush.
No, I don't know. Honestly, like sometimes when we're on these shows, like if I do know who's coming up and hosting, like I will allude to it sometimes just to like be like, yeah. Like if you could figure it out, you can figure it out. But I genuinely don't know. I would expect that we will find out at some point this week, or I guess next week at the latest. But actually, no, we would have to know next week, right? Because they would be coming on for the following weekend. So I would assume like there will be some sort of press release and then all of the publications will post it. They never do it on a Monday, so it'll either be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This week we'll know.
All right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing that. And it was fun talking to you guys, and congrats, Haynes, on the marriage.
Thank you so much. Good to see you, Ian.
Thanks so much, Ian. Great to see you. We'll talk soon. All right, buddy, let's bring up our next patron we have joining us here. So let's bring in Fred is with us. Fred, how are you, man?
Hello. Hey, great to see you both.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What's happening with you?
Just a little congested. It's pretty cold in New York, but probably not nearly the same as Montreal. So can't
Yes,
complain.
it's always a little bit better in New York, and that's why
Tiny bit,
I don't know
yeah.
exactly if I will be in New York for the 50th or not, but I'm hoping that the weather will hold up if I am there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Fred, how are you feeling about the season now after these last few episodes that we got in December?
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. Like, I don't want to like repeat too much of what's been said, but I mean, it's been said because I think it's true. Like, I am really impressed by how they've been incorporating the newer cast. I'm really pleased with like less direct less direct political cold opens. Like, that's, it almost feels like, are we being heard? Or I guess everyone's being heard. And also, like, I think they've been doing a very good job of like sprinkling in like cameos, like kind of throwback sketches, but like without overdoing it. So, like, I think entering 50, we all had like a lot of expectations, and I think, like, I'd say like they're meeting my expectations. There are some sketches that are misses, all that, but that's SNL. But I think in general of like, this is 50. I've been pretty pleased.
I'm glad to hear that. Fred, do you want to help us answer some more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take this next one. Here we go. Let's take this one from Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Culkin. Asks, who are some celebrities that you would love to see in the anniversary special who perhaps aren't guaranteed to appear? So I'll substitute the word celebrity there for like SNL alumni. Haynes, is there anybody that we expect we're going to see all of the the big names, the Farrells and Christens and all that stuff that will be there? Tina, anyone that maybe you're looking forward to seeing that isn't top of mind for everyone else?
Gosh, that's an interesting question. So there's some people that, obviously, you've got the big folks that you expect to see there. I don't think that, we would normally think about Abby Elliott necessarily being there, but, there she was at the Golden Globes last night, getting a little bit of attention. So, and so obviously she could pop in. It would be, I definitely wouldn't expect her dad to be there, but if she's there, maybe she could drag him along. And then we get that SNL father-daughter duo.
That's an interesting question, though. Was Abby at the 40th? Because she left after 37, and I think she left of her own decision, if I remember correctly. So, if anyone in the chat knows if they saw Abby Elliott in the audience,
Was there any Chris Elliott drama that I don't know about, or just
no? He was just on season 20, which
just
was
one season.
Yeah, just that really rough season. I don't think he had anything against the show or Lauren, but I definitely think he probably warned Abby about what a competitive environment it was. So, but yeah, I mean, it would be very cool to see both of them pop up at the special. Fred, anyone for you you'd be excited to see?
I mean, just anyone like from the older cast, if like whoever you can. I mean, even if it's just for a moment, like the original cast, or even like that weird era, like Ebersol and everything. Like, I think like, I mean, I would just be excited to see anyone at this point, like as many people as possible. I'd say, yeah, like older.
3 years ago, no one ever would have thought about this person being at the SNL 50th. But because SNL is a show for, celebrities and the moment, what's in the ether right now, and the juices that people are really sucking on, it would be so fun to have a Tim Robinson appearance. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes.
Amen. Totally agree. I would love him to host at some point. I think that would be
so awesome.
Such a fun story to get him to host. We would have a blast that week. I think a couple of people I'd love to see at the show that we haven't seen in a while. Sherry O'Terry, I think, is somebody who, not celebrated enough. She was never part of that like group of, Molly and Anna and Tina and, Amy. They all became sort of friends with each other. And Sherry was the one who left and never, was with all the people who came after her. But she's somebody who I don't believe was in anything at the 40th. And it would be so cool to get her as a part of the 50th and doing something fun there. And I think Kevin Nealon is another one who is somebody from that, second Golden Era cast who pretty much we've seen everyone who's still around come back at certain points. But Kevin's the one who I think would be really cool to get him in something. So I think those are, just those names that I think, Parnell, like people who
Yeah,
we
Parnell's a
know
good
and
one.
we love, but that, don't always get their shine. I remember during that, Jerry Seinfeld, like Q&A, when they started like asking Tim Meadows a question and stuff like that, those are the types of things that it's like, yes, yeah, I know who that is. Or Alan Cleghorn. It was just like so cool.
I feel like Parnell is kind of a lock for SNL 50 at this point. I feel like he has just done enough stuff since, and he stayed relevant enough that I would be surprised if we didn't see Parnell. But I think Sherry O'Terry is a great call, and she was a huge influence on me when I first started watching SNL. I got into SNL in '97. Just watching reruns of SNL after school on Comedy Central from just a few years earlier. But when I was, staying up late after my parents went to bed trying to sneak an episode of SNL, that's the cast I fell in love with. And Sherry O'Terry was amazing. Huge fan of Sherry O'Terry. And I always thought she seemed like she was so influenced by... I've always kind of called her like, we have different versions of people. We say, oh, there was, Dan Aykroyd, and then there's Bill Hader is kind of a Dan Aykroyd type or something. I always thought Sherry O'Terry was a real Martin Short type. And I would love to have Sherry O'Terry back.
I think she even had her own like
we're
best of
gonna
DVD, right? So I mean,
I think so. I think so.
that's
She was
impressive. Yeah,
Yeah, she was a really great cast member, and just somebody who just, like I said, never got her shine because like all of the other women that succeeded her, like all got brought back so many times that she, should have been included with them, but wasn't for I don't know what behind the scenes reasons. But it would be very exciting to see her there. We're gonna probably do a show on here, a podcast prior to SNL 50, talking about predictions about everyone we will see and not see. So we'll go through the entire list at a certain point. But we did have another fun question here. Well, it's fun, I guess this is relative, but other than folks who are sadly not around anymore, this is from @BouncingSeth, who from the 40th won't be invited to the 50th. So I'll just, open up that range there and say, is there anyone that you think will for sure not be there at the 50th, Haynes?
Well, as long as we're mentioning Sherry O'Terry as could be there, I will say Chris Kattan will not.
Why?
Well, I just thought there was a lot. I did think there was a lot of drama around him and the show and his relationship with the show and some of the things that he had said about it and that things that had been written about his time on the show and things that he has given to the media about his time on the show. I did think there was a little bit of drama there. Apologies to anyone who matters that's listening and thinks that that's completely false. I'm not trying to drum up false rumors. So it actually, but it's honestly, it surprised me, John, that you had that reaction. Because listen, Chris Kattan was awesome when he was on the show, but I thought it was a thing that kind of got talked about, that there was some drama there.
He definitely said some stuff before, but like so did Norm, right? Like I think like there's a lot of people who said things about the show that will probably be there. I think he's gonna be there. I don't know if he'll be in anything, but I would be pretty surprised if we didn't see him in the audience. I have some names that will for sure not be there, but Fred, did you want to go on anybody?
Oh, well, you will tell us your names after I go?
Yeah, well, I just didn't know if you wanted to make any predictions.
No. I mean, like, so I actually forget. Like, I've seen the 40th a few times, but I forget who showed up. There's obviously some hosts that won't reappear, but I think like
you don't think Adrian Brody will be there?
I mean, he's crushing it with The Brutalist. I mean, I don't know. Can you bring him back? Or Louis C.K. or whomever? But yeah, I mean, I guess like I don't even know like what's Horatio in the 40th. I don't know. I don't imagine maybe he'll show up.
I think he was. I don't know if he did anything in the 40th. I haven't watched. I'm gonna rewatch it obviously before the 50th, but I know he was in the digital short for the 40th was like That's When You Break, and it was all about Jimmy and Horatio breaking in sketches. Well, it was about a lot of people breaking, but it focused on them a lot.
Right.
I would say Horatio is the number one person who will not be anywhere near the building.
Right. Yeah, I think so as well.
Yes. And then I think Chris Redd is number 2. He will be nowhere near the 50th, unfortunately. And then I think there's like probably certain people with where they lean politically that I think are question marks, like Rob Schneider and Jim Brewer and stuff like that. But I just don't know like what the and that's not my opinion. That's like just what people at the show and how they may feel about them. So I think they are definitely question marks. But I would say like the 2 people I guarantee will not be there, or I will be absolutely floored if they were there, would be Horatio and Chris Redd. I just can't imagine them either one.
And
two such different people. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Victoria Jackson. I'm not sure Victoria Jackson will be there either.
That's an interesting question because she was at the 40th, Victoria. So that's an interesting question. Obviously, she's dealing with some major health issues, from my understanding. So I am very curious if she will get the invite. And yes, as somebody who leans a certain way politically, I don't know if she'd be included. But that is, yeah, I don't know. It's a very fascinating thing. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about with this big special coming up.
I have a quick question though. Like, why does somebody's politics play into this versus like
it shouldn't, in my opinion,
they've made in their life that matter?
No, in my opinion, it shouldn't. I just, this show has altered so drastically in one direction politically that I, venture to say, like, are all the people who are going to write the special, like, so left that they would never include somebody who was so right? But again, I mean, Joe Piscopo had a pretty big role at the 40th. So that's, and he's a conservative, radio host. So I don't necessarily feel like, to answer your question, that it should matter at all versus, somebody like Horatio, who there was a very clear lawsuit versus NBC, that type of thing.
I think I agree with you that it shouldn't matter. I'll tell you where I think that I think the way they weight it is against kind of your contributions to the show in general. So that's why I say like maybe Victoria Jackson, maybe not John Lovitz. I do think we'll be back, even though, he is, kind of become an open Trump supporter. So I just think that people think more fondly of his impact on the show than they do Victoria's. And so I think it's a combination of those factors that get weighed and probably other ones as well, but definitely those 2.
Yeah, and just to throw this out, like as a blanket statement, that again, like I don't think that politics should matter in this decision, but I do think it is absolutely fascinating to see, how were these invitations doled out. Like I think after the 40th, there was a in some experience museum that they put up, like they put a seating chart of the 40th. So if you look for it, you could see some of the pictures are out there about like who sat where, and that like seating chart for the 50th will be unbelievable to examine and talk about.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot of fun. Fred, is there anything else you wanted to, ask us about while you're here?
Yeah, just like, I mean, this is like wishful thinking, but do you think behind the scenes they're trying to kind of get certain people, like, so forget the 50th, like a representation of every era. So like, we had like a lot of Dana Carvey, and then, we had Chris Rock host. I'm just like looking forward, like in these like next 2 hosts, for example. And like, do you think they're trying to like, maybe like the next alumni will be like a Cecily or an 80. Like, do you think there's like a conscious effort of them to kind of like spread the love again, like for the fans? And like, I know it's an unanswerable question, but it seems like they've been doing a very good job is what I'm saying so far.
Yeah, I absolutely think that they should do that. I just don't know that they planned that out or had the foresight to like make that happen. But in like our world, that is perfect if they were able to make that happen. I would love to see some involvement of, some cast member from the 70s at some point this season beyond the special. But it does seem to me that they're going to try and get everyone from the 70s who can be there to the 50th and do something with them. And that may be the best we're going to get.
Yeah, and that's pretty reasonable. Maybe Bill Murray at best, I think. But
yes, who did say he wanted to host?
Yeah, exactly. I read that. I was going to say,
yeah. So that would be like super. Like I mean, like if Bill Murray hosted the season finale of the show, I mean, like the season 50, that'd be freaking cool. So yeah. But I guess we'll see. We have so much to talk about here. But Fred, great to catch up with you, and glad you're doing well. And stay warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Fred.
We'll chat
I'll
soon,
see
man.
you.
All right, so let's keep going. Haynes, you good to keep rolling?
Oh yeah, loving this.
All
This
right.
is great.
Okay, perfect. Let's bring in our next friend over here, and coming onto the stage right now is Dan. Dan, what's up, my man?
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me back.
Of
What's up?
course. Happy to have you on. How are you doing for the start of the new year?
I am doing okay. I had the foresight to put my dogs in the other room this time, so we're off to a
Thanks.
good start.
Yes, definitely.
Not the best looking set, but I go with what I can.
It's okay. You look great. It's great to get to talk to you. So after Paul Mescal and Chris Rock and Marty Short's episode, how are you feeling right now since we last got to talk to you in November?
I am feeling cautiously optimistic, which is what I think I said last time, but I'm keeping the same energy going. I don't think anything about the season has been particularly perfect, but there has not been an episode so far where I've looked at the sum of its parts and thought this was a waste of time. At least every episode had moments that like I would go back to multiple times in the following days. And I was pleasantly surprised by Paul Mescal's episode as somebody who had no idea who he was, as opposed to the following two hosts who I was pretty well versed in going forward. Mescal's episode might have been my favorite out of the three.
I completely agree, Dan. I had the exact same experience. I didn't know anything about Paul Mescal, and I was really impressed, not just with his performance, but with the episode as a whole. I just felt like it was a really solid episode, top to bottom.
Absolutely, absolutely. The lawyer sketch might have been my favorite. Gladiator 2, obviously. I'm appreciating the smattering of Wicked references throughout the last three episodes, considering who they have in the cast. Some might say it's too much, but I think they held back more than they could have.
Interesting. I do think he was better than I expected, maybe, or at least he impressed me, Mescal. But out of these three episodes, I don't know. Marty's episode was so like for me. So
it was very, I mean, it's so special. And we had so many amazing people there for, Five Timers Club. And it was a fun time.
How do you feel about those types of episodes, Saints?
I'm so sorry. Go on.
How do I feel about episodes with lots of cameos or big? I mean,
I
just
felt like family of the show, not like
family of the show is different. That's a celebration episode. I absolutely love that. I mean, why wouldn't I? I'm a hardcore SNL head, for a very long time. We get to see all these people who have been part of special moments in the past. It's like family coming together. It's a family reunion, bringing these folks back together. It's warm. It's fuzzy. It's exactly what a holiday episode should be. I mean, put it right into my veins. Love it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dan, were you going to say something different?
It's hard to think of the holiday episode as at least the one this year, as one that was just hosted by Martin Short, considering I think we saw Paul Rudd almost as much. And, the appearances from Kristen Wiig, it almost felt like a group effort. Martin Short, I respect the hustle. I respect the longevity. His comedy is not for me. I always say that like Martin Short walked so Fred Armisen could run. And if you're into that, I am all for it. I see the talent. I don't think there's no reason he's there. But when I saw he was hosting, I was like, okay, if I miss parts of this, I'm not going to die.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think he has to be of your taste, so I totally get that. Did I see, by the way, I think you were chatting along before. Did you say that you interviewed Chris Kattan?
I had a horrible experience interviewing Chris Kattan at a charity function, December of 2023.
Okay,
it was.
What happened?
If you want to talk about it. Oh no, I will gladly if you want to get.
Listen,
into it.
I saw that comment too, Dan. If you didn't say something, John, I was going to. We can't just leave that matzo ball hanging out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I'm a photographer and a podcaster. I was doing press for a charity event here in Chicago in December of 2023. John Mulaney did a hour-long set for about 100 people. It was such a surreal experience. But one of the people doing a short set before him was Chris Kattan, who, like, I was always pretty lukewarm on. I could take him or leave him. And I pulled him aside. I'm just getting like little, 5-minute long interviews. I got one with Martha Plimpton of The Goonies and Raising Hope. If, that went well, I'm feeling confident. I pull him aside. I ask for an interview. He grudgingly accepts. And man, just the worst one-word answers. I asked about the charity that the event is representing. I was like, well, what's your connection to this cause? And he goes, they're having me perform. And I'm like, okay, well, there's only about 100 people here. There are many people here who are most likely going to miss out. Can you give us an idea of what you're acting? He goes, I'm telling jokes dressed like an elf. And there was like an 8-second long pause. I look at him. He looks at me. Neither of us want to be here anymore. And I just go, all right, thank you. And I just avoided him the rest of the night.
Yeah, some people, unfortunately, are not the kindest. I do remember, I believe he was on Celebrity Big Brother in 2022. And that was on CBS, and I had contacted CBS to do an interview because every time somebody got evicted from the Celebrity Big Brother house, they would get to do exit press, so they would be forced to like answer questions about their time. Anyways, so I contacted them and I said, like, we host one of the biggest SNL podcasts. We would love to talk to Chris as a former SNL alumni. Of course, we'll ask him some Big Brother questions, but a couple SNL questions, and he refused the interview because he didn't want to talk about SNL. And I was like, he's like, I'll talk to him if he wants to talk about Big Brother. But I was like,
that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
you're surprised, John, when I said that I don't think he would be at the SNL 50.
No, because I think that would be like, I think it would be a bigger deal. Like, people would notice that he wasn't there. Whereas, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. There are going to be so many people there. I don't know if they would notice. But maybe. Yeah.
He is in that 50th anniversary photo shoot, which leads me to believe he will be in attendance.
Oh, is he?
At the very least.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
That's a good sign then that he will likely be there. But I can't imagine what he would do as a part of a sketch there. Like, I don't think they're doing a Roxbury Guys or anything like that. So yeah, that'll be super interesting. Dan, do you want to help us answer a question before we depart tonight?
Let's make it happen.
All right, let's go with this one here. This one from our friend Fred, who was on with us earlier, who says, of the most popular hosts from SNL history, Steve, Alec, Hanks, which one is, or any of the others, which was most likely to host this season? So we talked about alumni that we may want to see between now and the end of the season. Any big name hosts that we're missing? We did get Mulaney, who definitely is at the top of a lot of people's lists, but anyone else, Dan?
I said this in the comment section in one of your recent shows. I wholeheartedly believe that Baldwin will host by the end of the year. He appeared for about 5 seconds, either like last season or the season before. He appeared in a pre-election sketch. He was in last week. I think SNL is his vessel for kind of getting his reputation back on track. And I'm sure Lauren's in full support. He seems to get along really well with the cast. And I genuinely believe he will top that off by being a host by the end of the season.
Haynes, what do you think?
I think Steve Martin. I do think that Lauren wants Steve Martin to hold the all-time hosting record. I think they want to get him back in there. I think the reason
we need to do it twice, though.
I know. So he'll have to do it one more time before he can do it twice. So I think they're going to lean. I think they want to lean towards Steve Martin. I think the reason that he wasn't part of Marty's episode is because that was Marty's 5-timer thing. I don't think he wanted to overshadow any of that. And I think that
There's no way.
that he didn't want. Well, he wanted to overshadow it, but Marty wasn't going to let him. Marty
I mean,
knew that-
no, he definitely was not available to make it that night. There's no way that like he would purposely not be in that episode.
I wouldn't be surprised if.
I think it was a respect thing. I really think it was a respect thing.
That
I
is
think he was going to
crazy take.
I think he's going to let Marty have that moment. I usually let Marty have that moment, which does sound insane as much as they roast each other and act like they hate each other, but they love each other deep down. And I think that he's letting Marty have that moment. I don't think that Marty didn't want him there. I think that Marty would have loved to have him there. And I think Steve, in his most magnanimous self, was like, no, this is your thing. I want you to have this moment. And but Only Murders is still huge. Steve Martin will come. We'll get a little flash appearance from Marty and Selena Gomez, and that's what I'm leaning toward.
I'm sure Steve will host, and I'm sure there will be some remark about, I'm fine with you being on my episode, but you didn't want me on your episode. Okay,
Exactly.
I see how it is.
That
It's
agree.
going to write itself.
But he was definitely would have been there if he could have been there. This is fan fiction, guys. I'm sorry, but
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I can't imagine he wouldn't have been there if he could have been.
Yeah,
I'm standing by it. I think
Okay.
that
All right.
I think that he wanted to give Marty that space.
I think
All right.
your theory is the most interesting, but I think me and John's is the right one. But we'll see, though.
Yes, for sure. And to answer the question, I do think like anyone who's, I'd say, like in my top 10 personal hosts that I think may host this season, I think Melissa McCarthy. I just think she is so primed after that episode that we just saw her start to take over the show, that it was like, let's just get her back on. She is, she has like an outside shot that like she could host many more times and be considered like up there near the greats of the greats. Like I said, I already have her in my top 10. I just forget about how powerful of a force she is, in that like she brings a physical comedy to the show that we rarely see anymore on the show. And to just get her crashing through walls and rubbing her body up against a car, like for me it was just everything that I had forgotten about how great she is, even after rewatching her episodes earlier this summer.
100%. Before I go, I do want to put one more name in the wish list for people who show up at the 40th. Jay Farrow. I miss that man.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great to have Jay there. I definitely think if they were to do some sort of president's sketch, I think that you get Jay in that, because I think Jay does the Obama. And he seems very open and willing to come back to the show, given that I got to interview him a couple years ago. I think that's available somewhere on a YouTube channel, Just for Laughs, and he did say that he would love to come back at some point.
Awesome. Or like, you can have him and Eddie Murphy together and they're both being Eddie Murphy.
Yes, it would be very cool. I do think that getting Jay and Taryn into the 50th would be like really, really nice for the fans of the show to have them both back. So looking forward to that. That'd be a very special moment that we can have there and talk about after the fact. But Dan, thank you so much for joining us again tonight to get to talk to you. No dogs, but still awesome to get to hear from you.
I'll tell him you said hi.
Please do. And thanks for the stories and everything. And I'll chat with you next time.
All right. Until then.
Thanks, Dan. All right, let's keep going. Let's bring in our other friend coming and joining us again for the second time. Let's bring up Nicola. Nicola, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you both?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, what's happening with you? How are your holidays?
It was good. Yeah, I go back to work tomorrow and I'm definitely craving a bit of routine back in my life, but this was a little nice treat to add on the end of my holiday break.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. Well, thank you so much. So, how are you feeling about SNL right now after these last few episodes? Did they work for you? Did they improve your thoughts on season 50?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the last couple episodes. Paul Mescal, I thought, was a nice surprise. It's always a gamble, I think, with dramatic actors, but I think he was definitely into the episode, and I enjoyed that. My favorite line was from the Italian restaurant sketch. For some reason, when he says spaghetti or not, we're gonna kill you. I just thought that was really funny. And Chris Rock, I enjoyed it. Like, if I was to rank them, it would be my lowest episode out of those three, just because I found his cue card reading distracting at some
Nick,
points.
Nicola, listen, Chris Rock might be the worst cue card reader of all time, except maybe Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro and Chris Rock are the worst at reading cue cards. It's so brutal sometimes. And
Can we throw
Chris
Walken in
Rock,
there though?
you know, with Walken, I can't tell if it's really bad or not, or if it's just him being walkety, you know, like he's just got such a special cadence. But Chris Rock, listen, I love him to death. One of the greatest stand-ups of all time. Makes me cry laughing. I've seen him live. He's unbelievable. But the cue cards, I'm glad someone said it.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why I really enjoyed the hospital sketch, because like stuff went wrong and it took my view like off of thinking about the cue cards 24/7. And then the episode that was made for my heart, Martin Short and Hosier. Martin Short's like my hometown hero and my comfort old white guy. And Hosier, I've seen him perform before, and so I knew it was going to be a great episode, and it just made me feel all warm and fuzzy. It was super nice. So yeah, I've been enjoying this.
He lived up
back
to your
half.
expectations.
Yeah, I could always want Martin Short more in the episode because we didn't get him in that Sabio Hiante. Is that the sketch name?
I think yes. I'm not the right person for this, but I think it's
Okay.
Sabado
Gigante.
Yeah. But also I don't know if he would really like how he would play in that sketch, because he is such a big character himself, and having a guy like Paul Rudd come in and play the straight man in that sketch, I understand why it worked. But yeah, overall, enjoying those last 3 episodes and excited for what's to come.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to help us get through some of these other questions that we have here? I remember last time you were on with us was when I dropped out. So hopefully I will, is that right? And I will be here for the entire time of ever answering these questions.
Oh, that was another one. That was another young SNL fan. But yeah, I
oh, was it
understand
you?
what
I'm so
you're talking about.
sorry. Okay, but Nicola, it was great to great to get to hear your thoughts last time. But now we'll get to some of these questions. So that was, yes, you're right. That was so crazy that happened. But here we go. Let's answer some of these questions. So this one comes from Tran Kwong, who asks, which of the 3 featured players is going to have a breakout year? Ashley, Emil, or Jane? So we talked a lot about them this season, about how they're all doing, them having their own trajectories. Do you have an opinion about which one of them will be having the breakout season at the end of all of this?
I do, because if there's one thing I am, it's a Jane Wickline defender. I hate logging onto Reddit and just seeing people like do the same takes, because I understand if like her comedy and her cadence is not for you. I understand that, but like seeing the same recycled takes kind of gets me down sometimes. I'm like, just give the girl a chance for it. But in terms of who I think is going to be the breakout in the world of SNL, I think Ashley Padilla is already like, she's made for the show. I have enjoyed Emil's bits on the update desk, and I think he is like, he played a dad role opposite Heidi or something. I thought that was an interesting choice. But
the earring sketch.
Yes,
great sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the stars, I think Ashley Padilla is like my front runner.
It's so interesting coming to the season, Haynes. I would have so said it was Ashley as well, but I don't know that we've fully seen that on the show yet. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, Nicola took the words right out of my mouth. I think, I mean, they've given Jane some really prominent spots, you know, with the weekend update bits. But it just seems like Ashley, like you said, is built for the show. She has just been so solid in all the sketches. She just seems to hit every point that she needs to hit. I haven't seen her bomb at all, really. Maybe she's had a line or two all season that like didn't really get the laughs when they were supposed to get laughs. But she just seems so solid in every sketch. She seems well-rounded, and what I'm looking forward to, I do think that she has a lot of potential. What I'm looking forward to is seeing an expansion of her range. I can't wait till we get to see her play someone like really crazy, a really outlandish, explosive character. That would be interesting. Right now, she has played a lot of kind of middle of the road stuff. I'd love to see that range expanded a little bit, but I think she's definitely got a lot of potential.
Yeah, it sort of feels to me like Ashley is the type of performer that in general, when she's going to be in the sketch, she's not going to be a background player. I know she can do it, and she definitely has been more so for the first half of the season, but it feels like she has this background at the Groundlings and this, potentially dynamic personality that she'll play off of another performer really well and not be in the background as much. Whereas Emil seems to be really moldable to all sketches around him. So I think in his career, we may look at, out of the three of them, let's say, for example, they all last, 6 seasons. I think Emil may end up having the most sketch appearances because he can play more types of roles. But I think Ashley will probably have more starring pieces. And then I think Jane has for sure the most unique brand of comedy. So if she hits on the show, she will for sure break out, but she's been so polarizing, Nicola, that it's hard to tell if she's going to end up getting there or not. Like we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely an interesting thing to talk about and see. It's been an underrated story, Haynes, how impressive they've worked these 3 rookies into the show, given all of the things that have been going on with the election and the cameos that they've been bringing in. Like, are you surprised about that?
And just the size of the cast, and finding ways to, to get them in there. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, they're all getting airtime. We've certainly seen folks come in and get a lot less airtime. So yeah, I think they've been doing a pretty good job with it.
So I want to take this question that we just got, and I want to pass it to another one that we also had from Fred, who said, do you think Padilla will be on Update soon? Any cause for concern with her? She seems to be getting solid airtime and sketches on, but as Weekend Update is a great vehicle to get to know a cast member better. Do you think that is the next place where she should go, Haynes?
I mean, sure. I think it's a good question by Fred. I don't think there's any cause for concern, because like he said, and like we've discussed, like she's getting airtime and she's getting pretty strong airtime. But Weekend Update would give us a chance to see another side of her, get kind of a glimpse into her type of character writing. I'd love to see that, but I don't think I'm not concerned for her well-being if we don't see that. I think she's on a nice track already.
Yeah, and I just looked it up in our notes. So we have she was on Weekend Update in dress rehearsal for the Ariana Grande episode, but then that got cut at dress. So that's the only time we've seen her to this point. Do you think that would be a good, like, Nicola, if you were coaching Ashley, would you say, okay, we got to get you on Update coming up soon?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if she had been on dress before, because it seemed like they tried to get the newer cast members out on Update, and I think maybe they tried to get her on and it got cut, and then she started doing well in sketches and they thought, okay, maybe we don't need to make space for her. I'd be interested to see if she takes on like a Heidi Update piece instead of Heidi being on the desk, but overall I don't think it's hindering her progress in the show as a cast member.
Yeah, and Emil was cut from the Update desk on the Charlie XCX episode, the one right after the election. I think he worked on some stand-up there that got cut. So we've had both of them, but it seems like, I was going to say Jane's been on every time that she's been projected to be, but she also got cut as the couple you can't believe are still together. The second version of that with Marcella was cut from the holiday. So each rookie has been cut once from the Update desk so far in season 50. Nicola, did you have any other questions for us? Anything that you want to talk about from the season?
Yeah, so I don't know if you both have been seeing ins and outs lists on your feed for 2025. Basically, what's in for
Haynes definitely has.
2025.
Definitely. I got them all memorized.
If you could put something on your SNL in and out list, what would it be? What's something you want in the show? What's something you want out?
You can go first, Andrew.
Well, I listen. I think a lot of us would like Trump cold opens out. I don't think we're gonna get that. As far as ins, listen, I mean, what, we were just talking about how we have been seeing the newer cast members a lot. But I wouldn't mind leaning into that more. I think it's going to be tough to do it because we are going to continue to see a lot of cameos and stuff. Maybe that'll taper off after the special. I don't know. I guess when you're talking about ins, you're probably talking about regular ins, like not just a one-time in. But if we could get a one-time in, I'd love to see Conan, come do a one-time in. Something like that would be fun. How about you, John?
Well, Nicola, what are some examples of like ins and outs that you're seeing on Twitter for like trends?
So glad you asked. I haven't seen an SNL ins and out list, but I did make my own. I would love to see another 5-timer in the back half of the season.
Like a 5-timers club sketch.
No, like another 5-timer being ducted.
Okay.
And yes, maybe a sketch to go along with that, because I know Lindsay Lohan has the like Freaky Friday second movie coming out, so maybe. And Dana with like being already involved in the show so much this season. Would he have anything else to promote other than his podcast?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
look, I would be so surprised if he hosted now, because if he was going to host, why use him every episode? But
Yeah.
interesting thought.
In Dochi as a musical guest, I would love to have Jennifer Coolidge. I saw Riff Raff at TIFF and that was fun. But you said Bill Murray also wants to host, and he's in that with Pete Davidson. So we could see one of them coming back to host. My out was Jane Wickline hate and weird buttons on sketches. And I was
Speaking about
wondering how TikTok sketches were going to change with the incoming TikTok ban. I don't think they will, really, but I was wondering if they would change the interface to be reels, because I think that's funny.
So can you help me with this? Is that actually happening? Because I've been hearing about this for years, and I don't know if this is a real thing or not.
I don't know. Apparently it's getting banned on the 16th, and I'm Canadian, so y'all Americans stay safe, but apparently it's getting banned from America on
our prime minister is stepping down, so that was big news that happened today.
They're never going to talk about it, though. They only care about when our elected officials do drugs or something. They're not going to talk about
Haynes,
it.
did you know that
I listen, I had a really busy day at work. I have not been on the news at all. So listen, I don't follow pop culture. I do follow politics. Wow, that Trudeau is out. That is wild.
Trudeau is out, and Chris Kattan is in. No, it's crazy. But yes, that is a very, very interesting question about how TikTok, and if that actually was to happen. I've been hearing that Trump is like going to put the block on blocking TikTok. So I don't know what the deal with that will be. But anyways, that is a great question to think about and talk about, certainly moving forward. I think, to counter Haynes's point, I do think that I'm totally game for fun political cold opens. I know that not everyone is excited about what will happen in real life, but I think on the show, like, you're never going to have a better opportunity to just blank slate it and do anything you can. So I think in would be, I would wish for some fun political writing that does attack both sides and has something that everyone could look forward to and laugh at. And then I guess, the other thing that I've been really enjoying about this season, and I'm curious if I'll feel the same way in May, is, will we get one thing a night that is a throwback? That's just been a huge storyline of the season, that we've been getting either a digital short or a church chat or something that has given us, the Sandler and Rock in a sketch, something that makes the show feel throwbacky without making this not feel season 50. If they're able to continue that past the anniversary special, I'll be really happy. I don't want this celebratory season to not feel celebratory after February 16th. So I'm hoping we will get some of that. As far as outs are concerned, I don't know that I really have any good ones. I don't really have anything that I'm super hating, but you made some great points. Buttons, Jane Wickline hate, all good points.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nicola, anything else that we want to cover, or do you you've got all your points out about season 50?
Nope, that's everything.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us, and great to get to chat with you again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
of course.
Nicola.
Always wonderful to see you in the chat, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye. All right, Haynes, we got a very special person coming in next. This guy's coming to us all the way from across the planet. Let's bring in Ben is here. Ben from Australia. What's up, Ben?
Oh.
Hello, pleasure to be here. It's so exciting to chat with you, John, and Haynes. Pleasure to meet you. I'm so excited to dive in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ben,
what? Tell us what time it is in Australia first.
1:35 p.m. Tuesday.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, nice and
Did
easy.
anything happen yet on Tuesday that you can warn us about?
where it's like some meteor hits Earth or something. No, nothing exciting yet.
Yeah, Ben, I was so glad we got to chat a couple weeks ago when we did the patron, sketch breakdown show together, and it was great to get to hear your thoughts on the season. But now that we're on the main feed and chatting a little bit, and you got to see that Marty episode, how are you feeling about the season right now?
Yeah, I've been liking it, and it's hard to not repeat what's been said. But two sort of things I liked the most was firstly David Spade popping up the night before his episode. I went on a rabbit hole YouTube thing of all his late night appearances and just found a newfound appreciation for him. So when he popped up on that church chat, that was so exciting. And another thing, it hasn't happened for a few episodes now, but I've been really loving the midnight matinees, the Dan Buller shorts. It's been so cool to have this thing exist sort of, I guess you could say, outside the context of the show. That I know we've had that a little bit with PDD, but it's cool to see it and these sketches be so original. And yeah, for that to break out in season 50, and it seems like for the most part people have been liking them. Yeah, I've been really liking that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that was something that I thought was going to be a big storyline of the season, that we were going to get more of these midnight matinees when we saw that first one. And, Haynes, I don't know if you saw the show we did where we did the top 10 SNL sketches of 2024. And one of them was My Best Friend's House that was voted for, that people were really excited for. So, how have those hit for you, these Dan Bula shorts? We got to see Beppo and that one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, pretty great stuff. And especially, like you said, hitting right now in season 50, just a really cool thing for him. And like Ben was saying, I think they're just generally well received. So just, yeah, another thing to be excited about with the way things have been going lately.
Yeah, it's also interesting to, talk about the season from a pre-tape perspective, where in the entirety of the series, there's always been eras where certain types of pre-tapes are associated with. So, you get your Albert Brooks and Gary Weiss, you get your Robert Smigel TV Funhouse, your SNL digital shorts. And this era has been the Please Don't Destroy pre-tape era. Of course, they obviously have commercials and other stuff. But this season is a real mixed bag of different voices mastering those pre-tapes, where we get a couple digital shorts, we get a couple of Please Don't Destroy sketches, and these midnight matinees. And it's sort of like, in a way, a little bit jarring of like, you never know what's going to pop up on a given night. Ben, do you like that in the show, that we're getting all of these different voices contribute to pre-tapes?
Yeah, I really like it. And there's nothing more exciting than when the screen goes black and then that first image pops up. Yeah, as you say, it could be a digital short, it could be Please Don't Destroy, it could be another midnight matinee. That's what makes not season 50, but I feel like the whole show exciting to watch, and makes that sort of community you feel around it as well, that you're all experiencing this. And it's like, it goes sort of back to that old school variety show feel of it. I feel that you kind of don't know what to expect. And yeah, so exciting when whatever pops up. It's so, yes, I'm definitely keen for it.
Yeah, Haynes, do you like that in the show, that we're getting like this major variety?
Absolutely. Love it. I love it. I love it. Like Ben was saying, I mean, it keeps it exciting. And SNL is always exciting to a degree. That's why we watch it. But to me, it is really nice to have all those different voices, not know what you're in for. And not just that you don't know what to expect, but it's just all been good. It's been really good content. So, pleasant surprises, I think, is an understatement. And it's I've loved it. Absolutely. I love the variety. It gets me, as you can see, it gets me excited.
Yeah, I could tell. All right, Ben, are you cool to take a question from the mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this one comes from our friend Dylan Reed, who asks, do you think a weak opener to season 50 with Gene Smart will ultimately be the biggest minus of the season? So an interesting way to frame that, which is basically what we're saying is that at the end of the season, when all is said and done, are we going to look at the first episode of the season as the worst part, and let's just pretend that never happened? Or is there something else to you, Ben, that stands out as the weakest part of season 50?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, interesting take. I feel like going back, her episode wasn't any worse than the bad episodes we've got. Like, it wasn't anything particular, especially watching it, not knowing that she was sick or that she maybe wasn't the first choice and all that. But I feel like I enjoyed it at the time, and I don't know. I don't think it will sort of dampen the experience of season 50. We're always going to go back and look at it as a whole thing. I don't think we'll go back and look at it as episode by episode. At least for me, I'll kind of think back and go, okay, I know there was a little bit of a weak start, but then we had Ariana, we had Nate. I just kept getting better and better. Like my opinion for the season already started up here, and of course the episode maybe hit here. I feel like it was then we met in the middle somewhere, me and the episode, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't really feel like it was a weak start, and we've definitely had weak moments, which I won't get into, but I feel like it won't dampen the season at all.
Haynes, I don't know that I would describe Gene's episode as like a Lordy levels, where last year, like we were talking about like a potentially all-time bottom episode, but it was a bad start for sure.
Well, so I mean, so this is what I was going to say. The question obviously assumes, we have to assume this premise that the episode was really that bad. And it could have been better, sure, but I love Gene Smart. And I think just the fact that we got to have her on was really special. When I read that question, do you think that this will ultimately be the biggest minus of the season? I hope so, because that means that, we're in a pretty good place if that's as bad as it gets. And I don't think it was atrocious. Obviously, SNL is a thing where we have good and bad episodes and we have good and bad sketches. And that's, we dive into this analysis, and it's part of what we love about it is picking this stuff apart, and everybody's got a lot of different tastes. And sometimes it is objective, that, there's just a sketch that just completely bombs and everyone can agree who just did not work. Something about it didn't work out. But like I said, if that ends up being the worst part of the season, then that's a blessing, I think. I mean, things could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I think it didn't help that the hype was as high as it was ever going to be. So people were really excited. They announced the first 5 episodes. Everyone was like, oh, cool, Gene Smart. People who, who wanted to see her on the show for decades. Then the idea that we don't know who's going to play all of these political figures, so the focus is on that and not Jean, and then she's sick, and then we end up getting like one of those episodes that really is pop culture heavy. So I just think it was like a culmination of a lot of not great stuff coming together. And I think that one of my favorite things to do when covering SNL is to talk about how some of these episodes will be remembered in 5 years, 10 years down the road. And I do think, unfortunately for Jean, it's going to be probably remembered as worse than it actually was, given this question, especially because the Nate Bargatze episode was the one that came right after it. And
it was really good.
It was really good. And when we asked everyone for their favorite sketches of the year, 4 of the top 10 came from that episode. So it was like, one of those things that I just think like everyone was ready for something great. And I don't know that we ended up getting that. Did you guys see, I saw over the holidays, there was, did you know about all this, Haynes? I don't know if you would, but do you know about all this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni drama?
Zero. I know zero.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to get into this here, but it's a whole big thing. But there was some lawsuits traded back and forth about, crazy stuff that happened. But in one of these lawsuits came out that Blake Lively, who there was sort of like a smear campaign put upon her over the last few months, that she was supposed to host the premiere of season 50 of Saturday Night Live. And because of the negative publicity that she got, they replaced her with Gene Smart. Which I thought was a really fascinating call of like, what if Blake Lively was the host of the season? So that to me was crazy.
Well, I called for Gene Smart for years, and I'm, like you said, people have wanted her on for decades. I grew up in a household, where my mom controlled the TV, and that during the summer, that meant, like nothing but Designing Women reruns on USA every morning at 10 a.m. or something. So like, I've been a Gene Smart fan for a long time, and I was really hoping we'd finally get a chance to have her on. No offense to Blake Lively, but I'd love to have Gene Smart come back when she's not sick and maybe in a better situation and give her a second shot to kind of, I don't want to say repair the legacy, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Can I also just throw the alternate universe theory? And Ben, like, I don't know if you remember the sketch, so I'd love to get your take on it or if you knew about this one. But Blake Lively hosted the show back in season 35 and had one of the most epic sketches ever, which was the potato chip sketch with Sudeikis and Forte. And where he was, if you don't know the sketch and you're watching along, please go back and watch this one. But this sketch where Jason Sudeikis is playing his main justice character, and he's trying out for a job at NASA, and Will is interviewing him and tells him, okay, I'm going to leave the room for a second to get some papers, but like there's a bowl of potato chips. Please do not eat any of my potato chips. And the whole sequence of events that follows about him eating a potato chip. And ultimately, I don't even want to ruin the sketch because it's just so amazing if you haven't seen it, but just the potato chip sketch is an all timer. And the idea that we maybe could have got that for like some reprise of that for the premiere of 50 drove my brain insane over the holidays. So yeah, crazy stuff to imagine. Ben, any other questions you have for us? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do have a question. I know you alluded to it with the last patron, John, but in these first 10 episodes, I was expecting some more old school live sketches to come back. Of course, we had some pre-tapes that were from earlier times in church chat. Do you think that sort of lack of that maybe hurt the start of the season? Or if we had more, it would have been more eyes on it and more eyes coming back, if that makes sense.
Haynes, what do you think?
I love live performance. I mean, that's why I watch the show. I just love the energy of people having to work underneath the lights and interacting with the audience and feeling, the energy in the room and stuff. So I'm always pro, live performance. But I mean, I don't know. You never know, because you never know what kind of sketches are going to be written, and I think we've had some pretty good content so far. So for me, I think it's hard to judge. Maybe it would be a wash. I mean, maybe it would be an improvement. I don't think it takes eyes away from the show, or in general makes people less excited about it. I would probably be a person who would be in that end, like some people care less about live performance than I do. For me, that's the life of the show, obviously. I mean, it feels obvious to me. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the rare person that would have been extremely happy if a lot of the episodes were reprises of old sketches, and getting old performers to come on the whole year looked like completely unique and different to every other season. But it's probably better for the longevity of the show that they treated the season the way that they are right now, which is, again, if I was producing the show, I probably would do it similar to what they are doing, letting the show exist in 2024, 2025, and allowing these former performers to mix in with them, and, bringing people back into the family. So I don't know that I can complain about what we've been getting, because there's been a lot of pleasant surprises for me, Ben.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. So I appreciate it, Ben, and always wonderful to get to chat with you.
Yeah, pleasure, John, and Haynes. Great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you, man.
Yeah, and we'll talk soon, Ben.
See ya.
All right. Thanks. Haynes, how you holding up?
Well, I think I might have misheard or misinterpreted Ben's last question.
Oh, it's okay. We've been rolling.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah, no, I think what he was trying to ask was how we feel about some of the recurring sketches that we get in like the church chats and stuff, and if we want to see more of those in the show. Yeah, I mean, for sure, we'll hopefully we will get some others throughout the rest of the season. Let's bring in our next patron joining us on the show tonight, and happy to get to talk to this guy again. It's Isaiah. Isaiah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. What's up with you?
Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year. Y'all can hear me fine, right? I'm sorry, the mic test was being all weird. I couldn't tell if it was taking enough.
Yep, we can hear you.
It's been good holiday. I mentioned on the last one, but in early December, I got to go to New York for the first time, so that was fun to do. Nice little vacation for the end of the year. So yeah,
very fun. So what's up with you in the SNL world? How are you feeling about the show after seeing these last few episodes since we last talked?
I honestly, this last string of episodes, were having me pretty excited. Although usually when there's a good like upward trajectory of just kind of like good stuff that I'm enjoying, it always usually never know if like it flies too close to the sun and then you just get like a so week or something. So I'm curious to see, and having the Christmas break, I'm curious to see what it comes back. But these last 3 episodes where there was something to love, and the Martin Short one was surprisingly pretty incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me that was, I don't want to forget about some of the great episodes that we've already seen this season, but to me, like that's the one that I'm just gonna like hold close and really appreciate that we ended up getting it the way that we did. Isaiah, are you cool to take a question from our mailbag?
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's take this one from our friend Eric. Eric Godding asks, with half the season over, are there any former cast members who you think now are more or less likely to appear this season? So, obviously Mike does all the by the numbers and the stats and all of that, but Isaiah, anyone for you that you think we may see more of in the second half or less of compared to what we saw in the first half of the season?
You're talking about former cast members?
No, current cast members, the ones that we already have in the show right now.
Yeah.
Anyone that you feel like, okay, I feel really good about this person and where they're headed in 2025, or maybe not.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I'm like drawing a blank on the new members.
Okay, so we got Jane, we got Ashley, and we got Emil.
I think I'm hoping to see more of Emil. He kind of like surprised me when he I can't remember who it was on the one where he kind of was in like a lot of sketches. It was the same episode with the rock band. Was that who was? Oh, yeah, that was Bill Burr.
I think he was in Bill Burr, 6 or 7 sketches that night. Crazy.
Yeah, and I kind of liked the versatility that he had, where he kind of played like the straight character, and then even kind of got to put in a little joke. I was pretty excited to kind of because I felt like from him we saw the least, and so I'm kind of more excited to see him.
Okay. I could jump to Haynes if you want, and maybe he'll throw out somebody and then spark another one from you. So Haynes, anyone on the list that you think we'll see more of or less of?
Well, I definitely think we'll continue to see, Marcelo getting a lot of play. I think that it seemed like we were saying earlier, I think Ashley Padilla is on a really strong track. I think we'll continue to see more of her. And Andrew Dismukes has had some pretty strong moments. Would love to see a little bit more of him. So I definitely think, like I said, I think Ashley, as far as the new folks, I think Ashley's on a good track.
Yeah, so I think Mikey Day is somebody who we really didn't see a lot of in the first. He had some good moments, like whenever he's in something, it's often something that he wrote and had a big part in, but only 29 sketches for Mikey in the first half of the season. So just by comparison, Bowen has been the most this season. He's in 42. So that's, an extra 13 sketches between Bowen and Mikey. So if let's say an average episode is, somebody's in 4 or 5 things, Bowen's been on average like 3 more episodes than you would think Mikey would be.
Well, when you said that, I was going to say, like last year's numbers, I would bet Mikey would be 45 at this point in the season, like that.
Totally. And I think, part of that probably has to do with his contributions to Nate Bargatze's holiday special that I think he was working on. I just got to watch the 3rd edition of Washington's Dream, which was did you see that one? Which is like
it was the same sketch, but just with like the baby Jesus or whatever they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I thought they did a good job with that one.
It was.
Yes. So that's somebody I would think of. Isaiah, anyone else pop top of mind for you that you would think we would see more of?
I was trying to think of because I said of like for Emil. I was trying to think of someone less, but I feel like the Mikey one kind of fits that. But again, who knows what that'll change next year now that the Nate Bargatze thing is over. I have to see that. I haven't been able to see it yet. I want to see definitely more of Andrew and Sarah because currently they're my favorites. Like Andrew's been my favorite for like a while, and then Sarah just like. Since the last year, I just became like a huge Sarah like number 1 fan. So
I'm a huge Sarah fan as well. Would love.
Yeah, I love like everything that she's been bringing to all the body horror stuff, and then just kind of even the fact like when she just did that cold open a couple weeks ago, just kind of she really has like more to give, and so I'm just really excited to see what she does in this season.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sarah, for me, so Sarah's been in 38 sketches, Andrew's been in 37. And the fascinating part about them, who are both sort of near the top of the leaderboard in sketch appearances this season, is they've been in a lot of things that are not quintessential Sarah or Andrew sketches. We haven't really got any squirmy stuff from Sarah, and Andrew did the Hey Soul Sister sketch, and I guess the brilliant lawyer one, the one with Carl Tart in it, where they were all of the people in the courtroom were all dressed the same. But just I guess 2 in 10 episodes for Andrew, it feels like a big drop off compared to what we were getting in the back half of 49. So that'll be interesting to see if maybe we'll get more from Andrew Dismukes coming up in the second half of the season. I do feel like there'll be more room for some of these performers post the special and post some of these alumni in the show. So that'll be fascinating to watch.
I'm hoping so. He seemed to have like I thought in the beginning of the season, he was like setting up this weird trilogy where he's like a food server, because you had like the fajita sketch with Gene Smart, which honestly, like that was like one of my favorites. Just like kind of knowing like I'm from Houston, he's like from Houston, so like when he adds in those little things with like kind of just like the fajita plate, I just immediately like like responded to in a positive way. And then I can't remember what food one he did the next sketch, but it was where I was thinking like, is he just gonna be doing like a food run this whole like first couple of episodes? And so
it's so funny that you said that, because Isaiah, I completely blanked on that sketch for a second. Like the Real Housewives of Santa Fe sketch, like that to me goes to our point about the Gene Smart episode, which is that like I know it was the one that's furthest away from us this season, but it just washed over me, that one, for some reason.
Yeah, no, I'm on the boat where I feel like Gene Smart gets a little flack for it was honestly like a pretty good episode. That fajitas one and the honestly, I don't know why the I Love Lucy one I really enjoyed a lot. So those are like my favorites from hers.
Yeah, that's totally fair, and I love that you like those. Okay, let's take this next one from John Stroud, who said, John figures there would be more previous cast members hosting the season. Any idea why not? So I think probably they want to save people for the 50th. Like I don't think that Marty. I think probably having Marty host for the 5th time on the holidays made sense, because then you get this big moment of getting everybody there. But to me, they're probably, just saving people for the special. And I think that after the special, it's sort of fair game at that point, because they don't need to feel like they're overexposing anybody to us. Is that what you would predict also may happen, Haynes?
I think that there's some validity to that. Absolutely. I also think that, we're hardcore SNL fans. And there's people who watch SNL because they've been watching SNL a long time, and we love all those cast members. I still think a huge portion of the audience who tunes in every week is tuning in because of that celebrity right now who is in the big movie or has the big new album out. So I just think a huge portion of the audience is they still have to play to that. It's still SNL. So that's one reason I think that to go along with yours, why there might not just be former cast members every week.
Yeah, Isaiah, do you have any speculation as to why we didn't get a lot of alumni hosting the season yet?
No, I'm kind of in that same boat. I remember when the season started kicking off, I was kind of surprised to see how like the lack of 50-ish celebrationists that was coming in. Like there weren't a lot of people. Like you had Dana Carvey, but I kind of just thought it was like, for the election and all that, just to kind of bring him in for his Biden. And but as I started to kind of appreciate that they weren't doing it so heavy-handed, because of like, with what Haynes said, you want it to still feel like SNL. You want it to just basically be like the show's still kind of going, and that ended up making it feel like when you do get these surprises to come up, I think it feels really more special. Like not only did I not really expect a Church Talk sketch, I didn't expect David Spade to be in the Church Talk sketch. So getting those nice surprises to roll in where they kind of tease the big celebration coming, I think was the right move in the end.
Yeah, and all the cast members, it's interesting comparing this to season 40. All of the cast members who hosted that season all hosted in the first 5 episodes of the season, where we got Sarah Silverman, who was a big surprise to come back and host the show. Bill Hader hosted for the first time, and Chris Rock also hosted prior to the 40th, as he did now prior to the 50th. But every episode past the 40th there were no former cast members. So just something to think about to see what may happen. Isaiah, do you have any other questions for us or anything else you want to talk about?
Kind of like if there was like a no bad ideas kind of pitch on something that you kind of just would not kind of expect to see, but like because while I was listening to a little bit of the podcast on my way home from work, I started to think of like what are some wild like kind of ideas that you could kind of do in the 50th that you probably won't see because they're thinking of their own things, but just to kind of entertain. Like for example, like I have two, and I would like to hear if you had any crazy ones yourself. One I would have was like it would be really funny if they did a game show where the contestants were former game show host cast members, like Bill Hader or I think Sudeikis had done one, and then you had like Longfellow in there just to kind of like be silly with. It's a game show, but the contestants are all the former SNL game show. Oh, Will Ferrell, duh. Like as contestants, where you would think of something funny like that. And then my second one would have been like, I heard y'all earlier talking about like what a finale host would be, and I said like, what if it was Lorne Michaels hosting the season 50 finale of SNL? Because I am curious to see if Lorne would do something for the 50th.
So look, I think for the finale, I said this before, and I'm maintaining that it should be Keenan, and let's hope that is where the swan song is for Keenan, and we could celebrate him properly. So if we're gonna get another cast member to host in like a la what Eddie did, I think it would be really cool if that was Keenan. On the 50th special itself, for me, I think you sort of nailed it. Like, I would be really cool to me if we did some old sketches, but we incorporated some other cast members not from those eras. Like, you redo the Wolverines cold open that opened up the first episode, but you do it with newer cast members, or obviously Belushi and O'Donoghue are not around anymore, so you find new people to go in there, or you find certain themes of sketches that incorporate a lot of people. I think my ideal situation would be if you do sketches sort of like like the movie screen test sketches, where you get like a lot of people doing their impressions, but you're able to incorporate people from all different eras. I think that's the beauty and the magic of what we may see. Haynes, what do you think?
Well, listen, those auditions, screen tests are some of my favorite recurring sketches. I absolutely love those. I'm just a sucker for impressions, and obviously those are just just windmills of whirlwinds of impressions. But I love your idea, Isaiah, about about having different game show hosts on a game show. Like, that would be so funny to have Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek character as a contestant on a show, being hosted by someone. That's really funny. And John, I had not heard you talk about that, but that would be a hell of a swan song to have Keenan actually host the finale and let that be his goodbye. I mean, that would be unbelievable. That's something that, I mean, it's kind of moving to me, like right now, just hearing you talk about it. I mean, it would be such a big thing, and so special and so well deserved. And obviously only someone of his stature, could have something like that. It would really be unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't hear the Keenan idea either from you, but like hearing you say it now, I'm like, that is a pretty good idea for a finale. Because one of my other ideas was just like, what if the cast just hosted the 50th? But you kind of solved that with that too, because Keenan's still like an active cast member, and just kind of having him take that lead, being like, the grandfather of the show, practically, to the ensemble, is just kind of, it's a really neat idea. If I can like just real quick go off of, I wanted to have another question to throw in. In the 40th, one of the things that I was surprised to see in the 40th that I really loved was this kind of like this kind of legacy or like homage type sketch that they did, where they had Melissa McCarthy do the famous Chris Farley sketch, like, yeah, obviously because he's not with us anymore. And I was wondering like if there were any other ideas that you think with like former cast members that have passed away, that if they would do that in the 50th. And one that I had thought of in my mind, which doesn't really technically count because it's not a character, was that if Longfellow did a Norm Macdonald inspired Weekend Update.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, right? I mean, it would be fun to get him to, but like, what do you do? A bunch of OJ jokes or David Hasselhoff jokes? Like, there's not really a Norm. Like, Norm had a character, I think it's called Stan Hooper, that was very like Normish, but I don't know that he had anything that was so like uniquely SNL character beyond the fact that Norm was just such a big personality.
Yeah.
And I guess since the 50th, we've been pretty fortunate that like there hasn't been that many people that have gone, so that I don't know that there's that in place. But at the same time, like Ed Norton did Stefan, and like you don't like it doesn't just because a cast member is still around doesn't mean that we can't have somebody play their iconic characters.
No, exactly. And calling out to former like deceased members is a little in poor taste, and I didn't mean it like that, but just kind of in the sense of how to bring back characters. Yeah.
No, but like when they had Emma Stone do Rosanna Dana, like if Norm, if they had Longfellow or someone else, if they had, or some other former cast member, whoever does the best Norm impression, if Colin and Shay were doing Weekend Update and just like they call a character out, they're like, and now like someone would like to take over Weekend Update, do some jokes, ladies and gentlemen, Norm Macdonald, if they had a really great Norm Macdonald impression, and come sit down and do their Norm Macdonald Weekend Update, and they'd have to be, you'd have to listen, you'd have to have like Jim Downey jokes for Norm, for whoever's playing Norm Macdonald to like really slay. You'd have to dig in and get it right, but I think that would be a pretty fun thing. And it'd be obviously a great tribute considering his passing recently.
Just crazy idea, since Isaiah offered the option for crazy ideas. Any holograms, or are we just
no? Oh my god, no! Oh my god.
Yeah, could you imagine? That would just be Mike doing screen time for the Norm Macdonald hologram on the SNL 50th.
The only hologram I would probably accept is that they just did a hologram of Keenan from the different decades that he's just been on the show. Just like a young Keenan.
Exactly
it just looks exactly the same, but
yeah. Well, Isaiah, thanks for joining us, and great to get to chat with you. Appreciate you calling in again, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. Thanks again for having me. Take care.
Talk soon.
Great meeting you.
All right, Haynes, good to keep going?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. We got this. Let's bring in Brennan here, who's going to take over the show. Brennan, what is up?
Hi, I'm at work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have my posters behind me. I'm at work. But hey,
Okay.
I'm not going to miss this ever. So,
well, that's very nice. Happy to talk to you. And the reason I say you're going to take over the show is because you always come to us with some Reddit stats. So do you have the statistics of the first half of season 50?
I do. They're official. Official as of yesterday. I double checked.
Haynes, have you played this game with us before?
As much as I could.
I think I've been on with Brennan before, so I think I have.
Okay, so basically, for those who don't know, Brennan calculates. He's big on the SNL subreddit. It's a great other area of the SNL fandom that we don't always frequent in, but Brennan can bring us the stats from all of our friends over there about which sketches they think are, which areas of the show are the best or the worst of the season, and it's always fun to get to see and gauge what they think. And Haynes, because we did find you from the SNL subreddit a few years ago, in celebration of that, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on these picks.
Well, first off, you forgot to do your air quotes when you say great, because I know every now and then you have some issues with the results here. So
yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say they are accurate, but yeah, but it's still fascinating.
I will be the first thing I will announce is that I think I said this last time, but officially the ever since I started doing these stats, the John Mulaney episode from this year is officially the highest rated episode of all time according to Reddit. So that I don't agree with that either. So, but that's how the numbers work.
Also, Reddit hasn't been around for the majority of SNL's life, so we have to put a caveat on that. All right, Brennan. So take us through some of these categories.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our monologues, we have our sketches, pre-tapes, musical guest, weekend update, features, and of course, if I didn't say it already, the cold open as well. So I'll take it's hard to, let's just do, first off, just how every episode starts. Cold open. What do we think was the best cold open so far this year, and what do we think was the worst cold open this year?
Hey, do you want to take this first? Best and worst cold opens.
No.
Okay. All right. I'll guess. I'd say I'd say that Reddit said that the best cold open is the one that Kamala appeared on. Just I don't think that was the best cold open this season, but I think that's the one that they voted for. Worst cold open this season, I'm gonna guess. Ooh, that's interesting because I have actually liked the cold opens this season. Is it possible that they voted for the Nancy Grace one from the Chris Rock episode?
So that's right in the middle for you. We actually have the best one so far this year is a pretty big, wide margin between first place would be the one right before the election. It was the final rallies. So it was the Harrison Trump rally cold open where Andrew Dismukes checks in with the Kamala Harris rally, and then he checks in with the Trump rally. And
that was the one, but that was the Mulaney episode, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that one I got right. Yeah,
everything hit with the Mulaney episode. Worst one this year was the Trump. It says Trump Biden cold open. So let me look at which one that was because sometimes I forget which ones I write down because I have to write them up myself.
Oh, that's the one where the two of them are sitting there, having the conversation.
It is, yeah, Charlie XCX episode. Yep. And then the second worst is actually the church chat didn't go over very well either. So I liked it, but hey, it happens. So can't bring stuff back all the time.
I say, like I said, huge underrated stories that I think the cold opens have been pretty decent this year.
Oh yeah, and none of them have hate. So if you want to say that.
Okay, so
surprises me that Church Lady would be so in such ill repute though.
It happens, you can't always bring everything back. Like before we get to the sketches, almost all the repeat sketches so far this year are all of them are worse than their original counterparts, if I do want to put it that way. So monologues, best monologue this year and worst monologue this year. What do we think?
Hands over to you for this one.
Ooh, I don't know. Worst, Bill Burr. Best, Nate Bargatze.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Give us the results.
It's easy. Well, I'll say easy, but yeah, Bill Burr, exactly right for the worst monologue. I didn't hate it, but it was pretty divisive for sure about what he was saying, especially right after an election. And then best so far this year is, I think it's because he followed a trend that I think a lot of people really enjoy. It was the Martin Short monologue where he goes to the back hallways, and I think everyone really enjoys that. So,
yeah, that's a very good call. Okay, so what do we got next? We got live sketches.
Yeah, let's just do live sketches. Best of the year, one of them is very, very, very above the rest, and for worst sketches, one of them is very, very, very below the rest.
Yeah, Haynes, I'm gonna let you go because I think I know the answer to this since I just did the best sketches of 2024.
I mean, is it Domingo?
Nope, I'll tell you that already. Neither of those are. I mean, they're not anything fantastic on the rating, but they're not hated.
Oh, maybe Washington's second appearance.
That's a good guess.
Yeah. What? And so Washington's Stream 2, Brennan, was the live sketch that was voted the highest for season 50 for the poll that we put out.
Okay, so yeah, Washington's Dream, top 5, top 4, number 4 right there for you. The best sketch so far this year was what's Tim Kaine's name, huh? He's number 1 this year. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I personally, that's in my top 3 for sure. I really like the water slide sketch is probably my favorite one with the Nate Bargatze episode. And then I really like the Hey Soul Sister sketch with Andrew Dismukes. If I had to, most of Andrew Dismukes sketches I would put very, very high on my list so far this year. So, and then
that's a really good one. So what about the worst sketch?
All right, worst sketch of the year. Yeah, I'm curious about this.
It was the Paul Mescal episode, the Spotify rap sketch with who's the Paytas? What's her name?
Trisha
Paytas. Is that her name? I don't remember, but yeah, that wasn't good.
I see. That's the thing is that I didn't like that one. I'm shocked that the Reddit subreddit also felt similarly because I feel like we're not on the same vibe.
I feel like Reddit would hate that one. Yeah.
Now, what I will tell you is that when we go to pre-tapes, the worst pre-tape is not even halfway down what the middle of the sketches are. Like the middle worst sketch
Gotcha.
is like 10, like numbers wise below. You could
Below.
put 10 sketches below what the worst pre-tape is. So I honestly think the pre-tapes have been really, really good this year, and I think
Sounds like Reddit agrees.
that fully agreed there. Like the worst one of the year, honestly, I would agree with it being the worst one, but it sucks because I've told what Isaiah was just on talking about is that I personally like those types of sketches, and so does he, and that's probably a hint right there for you. So for the worst of the year.
So what are we guessing now? We're guessing worst pre-tape of the year?
Yep, and then best pre-tape.
Okay. I think best pre-tape of the year, I feel like they voted for Sushi Glory Hole. But
I might have.
trying to think what the worst would have been. Because
I
they
gave you a
said that
hint.
they're you did, but I don't know if I caught it. What do you think? Do you have a worst pre-tape, Haynes?
Listen, I don't know. I don't know the worst pre-tape. What was a bad pre-tape?
I can't remember a bad pre-tape that like people really just despised. Was it like was it Grandpa's Magic Car?
That's low. I mean, I liked it, but it was low. But everything in the Chris Rock episode was low. That's our worst of the year.
Skydiving?
So. No, people like
All right, so
PDD.
what's the worst one?
These screen tests.
Really?
Wicked
okay.
screen tests. Yeah.
Interesting.
I personally was very disappointed in it compared to for someone that really likes the screen test pre-tapes. But you know, there won't all be winners. You just need to pick a good, good choices of good choices of impressions there. I don't think they picked the best ones. So
Okay. And then what was the best one?
Harvey Epstein for city council.
That is so weird.
That is weird. That is so weird. Oh my gosh. Reddit is crazy.
That's by a considerable margin as well. And then you were right on with Sushi Glory Holes number 2. So
crazy. What else do we got? We got Weekend Update?
Yeah, Weekend Update, and we'll do a musical guest after that. So best update feature of the year. I'll let you pick like a person. And I'm pretty sure most of us can guess what the best update feature that everyone really enjoys. But let's pick the best person that showed up, and then the least best feature. So,
well, okay, so this is interesting because I don't know if Jane falls in best or worst because I do feel like Jane and Marcello together was the best for me.
That was a good one.
And then Jane being so polarizing, I have to wonder if she ends up as the worst one just based on how polarizing it is. But does Joke Swap count as the best one?
I counted it.
I think we all know that people would choose the Joke Swap as the best, but I thought we were, Brennan was saying we're just do like characters for we're trying to call out the characters for this
time. Yeah.
Okay.
But and so going along with what you were saying, John, and knowing how much Reddit hates Jane Wickline, I would say her first one, which I loved, the song about waking up at the party. I freaking loved it. I almost just
I like her
it.
stuff. As someone who's a big fan of musical comedy, I think she's great. So
okay, well, tell us what the results are.
No, wait. Let me throw
okay,
this.
No, don't.
No, I take back. I think Reddit because I think Reddit hated the Sabrina Carpenter Jane Wickline song
more. Okay.
Yeah, they hate it the most.
What's the answer?
All right. Well, best of the year, I do want to say is a bit of surprise from the other parts of the internet that got really mad about it was Bowen Yang's Mudang as the hippo was the best of the year outside of the Joke Swap. And then you were right about the Marcello and Jane being very, very high as well. That's in our top 5. So, but I will say that the other two Jane Wicklines are in the bottom 8 there. So, but worst of the year was surprisingly Ego, who did the Purse Girl, and that didn't really hit with anybody. So yeah,
it didn't hit with me either. I thought that people generally liked it, and I thought I was in the minority in not loving that. It was all right.
Yeah, it's just that Ego's really, really great on Update. So maybe that just was below her standard, but I didn't think it was that bad.
No, I just don't think there was anything that stood out about it, and I don't think anyone else really thought that was standout either. So, oh well, that happens.
Okay, so musical guess.
Yeah, musical guess. Best and worst. I personally don't agree with our bottom tier, but honestly, I don't think anyone was a really bad musical guest this year. I was very, very pleasantly surprised with who they picked so far this year. So,
okay, this is it's so subjective that I think maybe you should just tell us who the best and worst musical guests were by Reddit.
Oh yeah. Good news is we put Chappell Roan at number 1. So while I don't agree with that, but I like I said, I have to be a little, not that I shouldn't agree that she was the best of the year because she had the best, like fans really liked her, internet really liked her. She debuted a new song and everything like that. I just personally thought that Hosier was better overall. He's right in the middle though, so I guess I don't know what I missed there or why people don't agree with me.
As long as we're talking about this though, something we haven't talked about all show, and we're doing this feedback show, and we've talked about the Christmas episode a bunch, is what a special treat it was when Hosier, if I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Fairy Tale of New York was amazing. That's like my favorite Christmas song. It was such an awesome surprise when those first chords rang out. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I just never saw it coming. I mean, it makes sense. I didn't know he was Irish, so it makes sense. But that was just such an awesome surprise. Really, just warmed my heart, and yeah, it was awesome.
It was great. That's probably my favorite performance of the year. Just that song. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
but,
that was great. So, so what did Reddit say? Who's the worst?
Oh, Coldplay, and it's the worst thing of the entire year outside of the Bill Burr monologue. I don't know what the internet hates about Coldplay. I think they were just kind of bored with them showing up. But that's the second worst thing in the entire year is Coldplay showing up on our television screen. So
fascinating. As always, I really appreciate you bringing us these stats. It's very fun, Brendan, to get to hear whatever.
Oh, I appreciate you giving me a bookend to the episode so people can leave when they hear the word Reddit. So
exactly. Well, we do have more people coming on after you, but I do.
You're running extra behind tonight. All right, you.
Yes, yeah. But thank you for joining us, Brendan. Great to get to see you, and I can't wait to hear what the second half of the season means to everybody on Reddit.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to keep doing some stats. Hopefully they announce the new episode soon. Did you guys get your inside scoop already or no?
No, we did not get the inside scoop yet.
Interesting.
I think no, nothing yet. So
okay. Well, I think it might have to do with probably someone that won a Golden Globe or something. We'll see. Maybe they're waiting for after the Golden Globe.
Hopefully we'll know in the next few days, and then we can talk about it on next Monday when we're on next. But Brennan, get home from work. It's late.
Oh yeah, I will. Thank you.
We'll chat soon.
I'm back at 8 a.m. So have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Yeah. All right, Haynes, we got one more set of people who are coming on together. Are you good?
Oh, they're coming together. Okay,
they're coming together. So we got a duo joining us. They're co-podcast hosts. Believe it or not, we got a new SNL podcast coming to the SNL fan community. So we're going to bring in Casey Killingsworth and Deej to join us on the show tonight. Hey. Hello, friends. How are you guys?
Oh, doing okay.
Yeah,
back at work after the week off, and I got my new podcast revived. I had the time off, so it's going
cool. Well, great. I heard that you launched your new podcast all about Bill Hader, so that's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Hader. And this is kind of a nice break for me tonight because I'm editing the second episode. Unfortunately, I can only do it every 2 weeks. I mean, just because of life and time. But yeah, it's so far we've had some good feedback on the first one. So we can take any kind of constructive feedback. Subjects you watch the cover. So we are going to be your source for all things Bill Hader.
Okay, well, I'm excited to keep listening. I appreciate I got to listen to the first episode. You both sounded
Yeah, I
great.
got the preview. Yeah.
Yeah, so keep up the good work. Well, let's talk SNL 50 just for a few minutes here. We'll wrap up the show, and then if you want to get more of Casey and Deej's thoughts, definitely check out their podcast. So, Deej, I'll start with you. Any major thoughts on the season now that we're at the halfway point?
This may be a bit of a hot take for some people, but there's been a lot of talk about PDD not being on this much this year, and I'm okay with that. I'm not. I think I've had a couple of things amusing, but I am not the biggest Please Don't Destroy fan. It's just I'm not going to yuck your yum. If you love it, that's great. But I'm okay. I'd like to see more Dan Beulah. Having the digital swords back is absolutely great, but PDD just doesn't do it for me.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you're totally entitled to feel that way. If it doesn't work for you, that's good. And then they definitely slowed the pace that they've contributed to the season. So that definitely would make the season better for you, Deej. Casey, what about you? How are you feeling about the season right now, halfway through?
I'm feeling pretty good about most of December. I thought Pedro Pascal was a strong host. That even if they didn't use him to his full potential,
Mescal,
Paul Mescal. Yes, he was a strong host. Even if they didn't use him to his full potential, he turned in a good episode. Chris Rock had a surprisingly good episode that didn't feel like it had any dark clouds hanging over it. That's new. I will say, we got a church chat cold open, and I feel like, in the SNL online social circles I run with, I think we've determined that church chat really works best if they can get like your Smigels and Downies to come back and write for Dana, because when you think about it, it really only worked and really made the most sense back in the 80s when they could make fun of your Bakers and Swaggarts and Roberts, other prominent televangelists who got in some scandal. And it doesn't work when they just want to use it to punch down on some rando celebrity who's in the news like right Snooki. Now. Feels kind of, or Snooki, or like 25 years ago when they bought on Catan as Anne Heche or Gasteyer as Hillary. That aged really well.
I'm sorry. I love Bobby Moynihan as Snooki. That is, for me, that's
yeah, that works on its own better than just in a random church chat. But the Martin Short episode, the first time I watched it, I didn't hate it as I was watching it, but the more I thought about it, the more I feel like Martin Short deserved a better episode, because I feel like Martin Short's episode and John Mulaney's episode from this season are kind of they're both kind of the big events of season 50 so far in the first half, but they're mostly just kind of riding on the wave of having a real hot crowd, just a big audience reactions to just, having the right people there at the right time, just getting all the cameos they wanted. And I came away with kind of a smoke and mirrors feeling, the same I came away with from Mulaney's episode, because usually they're solid hosts and they turn in great performances too, but their episodes from previous years were better because it felt like, they were more uniquely suited for, their comedic abilities rather than just kind of, plugging them into templates of sketches they just did last year that worked. So why not do them again? So I just, I feel like, I felt like maybe they were kind of running out the clock until they get to the 50th anniversary show in February, which I hope they're, really bringing out the big guns and saving all their best stuff for. But there's something I've been meaning to ask you about the Five Timers Club, John. Has it been canonically established at this point that is the Five Timers Club just for hosts, or is it for both hosts and musical guests that have been on 5 times?
It's definitely only for hosts. I think the Jack White getting a jacket was just like a cute thing. But I think the whole Woody experience of like that weird episode that we got with Woody and Jack White, I think was like mindfucky for everybody. So I would just say, but yes, as far as I would say, definitely in the canon of Saturday Night Live, it's just for hosts, and that is why these stockings in the back only show the initials of 5-time hosts and not 5-time musical guests, with a big asterisk to Paul Simon.
Yeah, because I think if they did include musical guests, that might be the only way that Paul Simon could legitimately be a 5-timer, but we're not going to drag out that debate. I'll just say that I'm mostly okay with season 50. Just, have some odd feelings here and there, but I feel like I'm starting to think maybe more people than just Blake Lively might have dropped out of hosting at some point. I mean, like maybe Chris Rock came in because someone dropped out of the 14th, and maybe even the fact that even you have no clue who might be hosting in January makes me think someone else might have dropped out or had to reschedule. But
yeah, I mean, I will say, like, typically, if I'm not gonna know something, like, okay, I don't claim to know everything, but if I'm not gonna know about like who's hosting or being the musical guest, it would be this time of the year, because they really generally only book the last few years. Those January hosts mostly finalize them when they return. So yeah, it's not like I don't know that somebody necessarily dropped out for January, but I think like some of those things are only getting signed like today, tomorrow, that type of thing. Do you want to jump in?
One thing I did really, I'm looking forward to with the 50th celebration, not only the main show, but the documentaries that they have planned. Like the one they have showing all the auditions, the musical guests with Questlove, just basically because I love the series that you do on Thursdays with the highlighting the seasons of SNL, and I just love behind the scenes kind of tidbits like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing those when they come out.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I do believe we will get some sort of trailer for the documentaries sometime soon. That I know, because I have definitely seen some stuff. So I think that'll be something that everybody can look forward to at some point soon.
I look forward to those too. I mean, oddly enough, it might be the it might be the one about season 11 that intrigues me the most.
Yes. Yeah, and I believe they are showing some currently like on NBC. I think there's like a shot of Damon Wayans talking about it a bit, but we will get some more. This month will be huge for documentaries, the 2 episodes, and then obviously headed towards the 50th. But yeah, I mean, good to get, your thoughts about the season and getting to catch up with the 2 of you a little bit. So exciting that you're, venturing together on this journey podcasting. I'm so excited to hear from the 2 of you.
You helped bring us together, because
we couldn't have done it without you, John.
Exactly. So you're always going to be a friend of the podcast, and we will want to have you on at some point. So
I would be honored. I'd be absolutely honored.
Definitely open the guests and subjects and all the things like that.
Cool.
So it's going to be an interesting journey. We'll see where it goes. The next episode we have coming up on the 19th is basically we went through all the little small roles that Bill Hader's done early in his career. Is it worth watching this movie for just that one little bit of Bill Hader that we get? So we have a few interesting takes on a number of films, in particular the Brothers Solomon.
And a few things you may not have heard of, like Purple Violets or Cinema 6 or Accidental. I forget that title, but yeah, some
Accidental Love.
Some interesting hidden gems we found. Yeah.
That's very exciting. So Casey, where can people check out the podcast that you guys are doing?
You can follow We Heart Hater on Twitter and Blue Sky, and we'll be posting, new episodes there. And I might write some retro reviews on my blog that coincide with that. And also the 3rd episode that we have planned, we're going to do our first big character spotlight on Vinny Vedecci, the Italian talk show host. So so every 2 weeks, every Thursday is what we're planning. And
we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm still having trouble with Amazon at the moment, so I'm trying to work on getting that fixed. But a lot of even the smaller podcast networks are on, but definitely Spotify, definitely Apple Podcasts. Hopefully, I can get Amazon resolved. Something wrong with the RSS feed or something.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. And look, one of the great things about getting to do what we do here is getting to meet people like you and hearing your thoughts on the show. So truly, all I can ask for our listeners is that when anybody, whether you start a blog or a podcast about SNL, let's all support each other. Let's all, check out each other's work and stuff like that. So I'm always happy to have the two of you on the show, and good luck with everything. So thanks for giving us your brief thoughts on the season so far. And I look forward to chatting with you both throughout the entirety of the season about your thoughts, especially as the 50th comes up. Casey, there'll be so much I can't wait to hear from you on. So thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm just hoping Global is going to have the documentaries in Canada, because I know they made it on Peacock. So hopefully
we'll find out, Deej, to get them to you. Definitely in our Discord, we'll talk about that. So that's
awesome.
That's for sure. So thank you both for chatting with us tonight, and we'll talk soon.
You're welcome, and I look forward to it too. So
thanks. All right, Haynes, we did it. We
did it.
What a journey! 2.5 hours of getting to talk to patrons, answering questions. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing dry January, so I'm tired. I don't have any juice to keep me awake.
Well, I appreciate you hanging with us for the entirety of the show. Super nice. I do have one more question we didn't get to in our mailbag. I'm just going to get to it really quickly, just to make sure, because I always just like to answer every question. So we'll just do that, and then we'll sign off. This one came from @L4Chang, said, what makes a recurring sketch as good or even better than the original in this era of SNL? And just to answer your question, for me, it's always about continuity. I think when you establish the characters in the sketch already know each other, and you build upon that a little bit, and there's some pivot points in the sketch where you feel like there's character development, that truly helps for me. So I always appreciate those sketches a little more, instead of like, oh, am I watching a repeat of what I've seen already? That's my 2 cents on that. So thanks to everybody for sending in their mailbag questions. Of course, we'll be doing this feedback show again after the next run. So we'll have 2 more episodes, and then we'll have that. Before we get there, next Monday night, we will have our mid-season by the number show. So Mike will have all of the stats from the entire first half of the season. We will talk through every single cast member's first half, discuss what went right, what went wrong, what we may look forward to in the second half of the season from them. And we will be joined by Dennis Perkins on that show. One of the all-time great SNL reviewers will be joining us to go through every single cast member. So that'll be next Monday night. And of course, we'll be back for the show on the 18th. And then roundtables are by the numbers, and our feed on our weekly sketch breakdown shows as well. So much content coming up here at the SNN. Haynes, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate all the hanging out with you.
So good to be back. I've been away for so long, and so awesome to, meet and talk with so many awesome people tonight, and everyone in the chat, who, even folks who didn't jump on the show, just seeing so many great names of folks we've talked with before and just had around for so long. So just a really fun time. Definitely a little bit of a marathon. We got to run through a ton of fun stuff. So it was a great way for me to just go diving headfirst right back in.
Yes, totally agree. And of course, to find everything that we're doing, please follow us on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, all of the platforms at the SNL Network, to see everything we are posting over there. So you can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to any podcasts. Feel free to follow me as well at Jon Schneider 24. And I want to thank our presenting partner as well for the show, Late Nighter, at latenighter.com. You can go see all of the great articles they have up already about late night television in 2025. So on behalf of everybody in the live chat, all of the patrons who joined us, and Haynes, my name is Jon Schneider from the Saturday Night Network, and we will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.